4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studio in New York City. A fusion of politics, commentary, entertainment, and sports. Steve and his team bring you the latest news and opinion now. Here is Steve Malzberg.
The thing about an organization like this is that typically when they control territory, because they're so violent, because they're so extreme, over time the local populations reject them.
All right, there you go, folks. The local populations are going to reject ISIS. Welcome to the Monday edition of the Steve Malzberg Show. John Kerry in Iraq today, and basically the President and the Secretary of State sticking to the line as ISIS is on the move. The President acknowledging a long-term and short-term threat to the U.S.'s security by ISIS, recognizing the threat to the borders of Jordan, Syria. There are no more borders in Syria. They want to eradicate the borders in Jordan. Well, there are borders in Syria, but they're eradicating some of them. Refugee problem pouring into Jordan. ISIS says they're going to Israel. And the President is counting basically on the fact that people will find ISIS too violent and will throw them out. We'll have much more on that with the panel and later on a Give Me Five as well. So that's the story there. We've been covering the plight of a woman, a mom in Sudan. Miriam Ibrahim, Sudanese woman, gave birth in Khartoum not too long ago in prison after being sentenced to death in May for allegedly converting from Islam to Christianity. 27 years old, she refused to renounce her Christian faith, and she was sentenced to hang for apostasy. Well, she's been released. She's been released. American citizen, members of Congress, very vocal and outspoken about this. And I don't know the details of how it happened, if Obama did it, if Kerry did it, if Hillary did it. I don't care. If they did, congratulations, because this is very important to get this woman out of Sudan. And I don't know if she's coming back here, but she's been released from prison anyway, and she's not going to be hanged. And she's got a new baby. So all that is good. Now, I'd like to see whoever got this done, assuming it was someone from the U.S., I'd like to see them get it done with our Mexican Marine in Mexico and others. All right, Daniel Henninger joins us, but first, I want us all to watch this.
Turns out congressional investigations, including 14 congressional hearings, 30 interviews with IRS employees, 50 written congressional requests, and 750,000 pages of documents. And all of that has done nothing to substantiate false Republican claims of a broader political conspiracy.
False Republican claims. The arrogance knows no end. Welcome back, and joining us as promised is Daniel Henninger, Deputy Editorial Page Editor of the Wall Street Journal. You might have heard of it, and also a Pulitzer Prize-winning reporter. Hey, Daniel.
Hey, Steve.
Always great to talk to you, sir. You wrote a great piece talking about the high price of Obama fatigue, talking about also how this IRS scandal is not Watergate. It's much worse than Watergate, and I couldn't agree with you more. Let's start with the Obama fatigue. I mean, the polls have been devastating in every area of the polls, even, and I'm digressing here, even as there's Hispanic support. And I don't understand how this is possible, because if the Republicans have to do immigration reform to get Hispanic votes, why did he lose 15% of Hispanics compared to a year ago anyway? There is definitely Obama fatigue, and I got to think Obama, I don't know, realization that on policy, on incompetence, on failure to lead, failure to be honest. There's a whole bunch of things.
Yeah. Well, the thing, when I say fatigue, Steve, what I mean is that the president seems to have basically withdrawn from the political field. It's no mystery or secret that he's done with Congress. He barely deals with Congress anymore at all, preferring to either try to execute strategy through executive authority in the agencies, or, as he does most of the time now, flying around the country doing multiple fundraisers for the Democratic Party. And as to foreign policy, the mess we have in Ukraine and God knows now Iraq, I think the president essentially did this to himself, which is to say it is a public, it was quite public that the president was going to reduce the U.S. position and role in the world. This was known as leading from behind, their phrase, okay? And what we've discovered about leading from behind is that the United States doesn't lead. It was a policy that was always going to run the risk of emboldening our adversaries. And after he failed to act against Bashar Assad in Syria, the famous Red Line in Syria, what followed was the annexation of Crimea by Vladimir Putin and Russia, and now this extraordinary, basically, takeover of northern Iraq by the al-Qaeda group ISIS. And the president's just refusal to be on the job every day, dealing with the sort of things you would expect a president to do, whether it's domestic or foreign policy, I think has led to the situation we have got ourselves in right now, a withdrawn president and a world in flames.
No, you're right. He's never had much of a relationship with Congress. I mean, there was nice photo ops, nice some kind of meetings at times in the Oval Office with the Republican leadership on one side, the Democratic leadership on the other. But it's well known, as you know better than I, he doesn't have the ability or the desire to forge relationships, and that's really a big factor in the failures he's had, as you just alluded to.
That is one of the very strange aspects of this, Steve, is that the president seems to have no real sort of retail political skills. Certainly he can go out and give a speech in front of a large number of people and meet and greet out there in the countryside. But as far as doing the sort of day-to-day political work you expect anyone in Washington to do, he doesn't like to do that. And you almost have to wonder, why did he want to be president? I mean, every president ultimately is, at some level, a politician. You have to be willing to engage with people, whether they're members of Congress, your own party, the other party, or opposition leaders out there in the country. We have apparently had no relationship for years with the head of Iraq, Nouri al-Maliki. The Saudis have decided they had no relationship with the United States after decades and decades of being our ally, and have pulled apart from us.
He didn't even meet with Kathleen Sebelius for all those months.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember that story of months and months, maybe, lots of months, maybe even a couple of years at one point. Yeah, it goes on and on and on. And you remember the budget shutdown? There were no talks. He will not negotiate. He will not bend. He will not compromise. That was the talks.
Yeah. And, politics, the reason we all talk about politics all the time, as you well know, Steve, is that it's a very powerful force. There are forces in play, both domestically and overseas, and they take on a life of their own. And if a president doesn't engage with that, those forces can overrun him. And I think that's what's happening to our presidency now, unfortunately, with 2.5 years left to run.
Yeah, it is frightening. And by the way, there's a poll out. George W. Bush it's a Gallup poll. George W. Bush is 6 points higher in favorability than Barack Obama. 6 points higher. Wow. It must be because Obama's black, no doubt. I mean, that must be the reason, of course. All right, let's talk about this IRS fiasco. In your view, it is, in my view too, but I'm more interested in yours. It certainly is worse than Watergate. I mean, I can't recall a scandal as in your face as this, as high up and important as the IRS. And hey, we threw them away. So what? What are you going to do to us?
Yeah, well, with the emphasis on the fact that it is the IRS, I mean, let's understand the Watergate is one of the most famous scandals in the history of the country, but let's understand the substantial difference between the two events. Watergate began with a break-in at the Watergate Hotel by some Republican operatives operating out of the highest levels of the Nixon presidency, and what they were attempting to do inside the Watergate Hotel was penetrate the headquarters of the Democratic National Committee and find out what they were doing. So it was the political party in power and its professionals going after the professionals of the other political party. It was ugly, but that's what it was. What is the IRS? The IRS is the party in power, the Democrats, essentially sicking the most powerful and feared agency in the U.S. government, the Internal Revenue Service, on individual groups of citizens out in the country, all over the country, hundreds of them, who have done nothing more than organize themselves to get involved in politics. And suddenly these people, I'm sure all of them who paid their taxes every April, right off the top, every single year, suddenly found themselves with the IRS at their front door saying, tell us who your donors are, tell us what you talk about, tell us about your meetings. That, to me, is an abuse of power way beyond what was happening in Watergate.
Absolutely. And then look at the, I don't want to call it the cover-up, but look at, well, how do you throw away hard drives? How do you not, I understand there's a law that I'm going to talk about later on where the IRS was required, maybe other agencies too, to keep hard copies of emails, in file for situations like this. So I don't understand how this is even deemed to be possible. That we all the 6 people, in addition to Lois Lerner, their hard drives all crashed and we threw them away. I mean, dog ate my homework.
Yeah, or that old expression, Steve, it quacks like a duck and walks like a duck. Well, this thing quacks like a cover-up at this point. It's a little hard to explain it in any other way. But, despite the seriousness of their attempts to purport that they had no involvement in this, even what we know, I think, is bad enough, Steve, which is starting with the president himself at his State of the Union speech in 2010 when he attacked the justices of the Supreme Court sitting in front of him for their Citizens United decision, which enabled these groups. And then he said this was an endangerment to our democracy. And subsequently, you had letters written by major Democratic senators, Schumer, Durbin, Levin, and 5 or 6 others, demanding that the IRS go out and investigate these groups. I mean, there's your smoking gun.
Why don't they call these senators before the committees as well?
Yeah.
You would think that would be it. Hey, Daniel, this is great stuff. I mean, it's important that we get it out there and talk about it in a way that, of course, the major networks are not. And we could always count on you in the Wall Street Journal and others to do that. I thank you so much for being with us again, sir.
All right. Great to talk to you.
Take care. Daniel Henninger, ladies and gentlemen, Deputy Editorial Page Director of the Wall Street Journal and Pulitzer Prize winning reporter. It's very interesting, and if it quacks like a cover-up, to coin a phrase. When we come back, the Malzberg panel will be in full force, and we'll bring it to you right here on the Steve Malzberg Show, only on Newsmax Television, so don't go away.
Endless pools are an incredible alternative to traditional pools, making it easy and inexpensive to swim at home. Call our toll-free number or visit our website. A free idea kit and DVD will be sent to your home so you can discover all the benefits of owning your own pool. Compared to traditional pools, endless pools are simple to install, easy to maintain, and economical to run. Our precision-engineered pools enable you to swim or exercise against a smooth current that adjusts to any speed and ability. Endless pools are perfect for year-round health and fitness, relaxation, and family fun. Our free idea kit and DVD will show you how easy it is for the whole family to enjoy a pool right in your backyard or home. An endless pool or an endless pool swim spa can become a showplace for your home. Call our toll-free number or visit the website to find out more about endless pools. The free idea kit will show you just how easy it is to be able to swim at home.
Hi, I'm Joan London, and if you're worried about your parent or a loved one living alone like I was, and you want reliable senior care information, then call A Place for Mom, the nation's largest senior living referral service. You'll get free information on assisted living, Alzheimer's care, nursing homes, even important financial information.
They had obviously researched every place, not just given me names. They found me a place for what she could afford, and it was magnificent.
We're now very confident that she's safe, and they just helped every step of the way, and I can't thank them enough.
So if you're struggling to find reliable senior living information, call A Place for Mom. This is a free service, and you can trust them to help you.
Call right now to get your free Senior Care Compass ebook. Find out about the 5 best-kept secrets on financing senior care and assisted living.
To find out more, call 800-263-4151. That's 800-263-4151.
Now on Newsmax TV, Dr. Ben Carson calls Obamacare modern slavery and explains why America must rise up to stop it. See Dr. Carson on Newsmax TV's Midpoint. Go now to Newsmax TV. Politics, commentary, entertainment, sports, news and opinion now. Here is Steve Malzberg.
We're going to have to be vigilant generally. Right now, the problem with ISIS is the fact that they are destabilizing a country that could spill over into some of our allies like Jordan, and that they are engaged in wars in Syria where in that vacuum that's been created, they could amass more arms, more resources. But I think it's important for us to recognize that ISIS is just one of a number of organizations that we have to stay focused on.
All right, folks, welcome back. Time for the Malzberg panel. And joining us right now, a columnist for Breitbart.com, an American thinker, C. Edmund Wright, and Newsmax's White House correspondent, John Gizzi. Hello, gentlemen.
Hello, Steve.
All right, good to talk to both of you. All right, you know, all of a sudden ISIS is a threat, and it's just one of many threats. And I got to tell you, Mika Brzezinski said to him in her interview, because, you know, Obama did a whole bunch of interviews, you know, you said Al-Qaeda was decimated. You said that, and he said, well, they were. Well, la-dee-da. You know, and as far as ISIS goes, guys, and let's start with you, John, they're driving around U.S. Humvees in Syria right now.
Well, it's not just that. They have repeatedly seized oil refineries in northern Iraq as well as Kurdistan, and along with that, the central bank of Iraq, which contained approximately $400 million in U.S. funds. That's enough to fund a virtual state so far. So ISIL, the Islamic State for Iraq and Levant, which is basically greater Syria, Jordan, Syria, and Palestine, is functioning as a state and growing. It certainly is not something that has just recovered recently. It's on the march.
Right, and Edmund, I mean, this is, you know, I read reports today where ISIS says they're going to go to Israel. I mean, this is crazy. And Obama, at least in that interview on Face the Nation, basically said, well, we're counting on the people to feel that and figure out that they're too violent and they'll reject them. What does that mean?
I don't know. What I thought, Steve, was pretty interesting was Obama talking about the vacuum that's been created over there, as if he had nothing to do with creating that vacuum. You know, this is the foreign policy equivalent of everything else in this administration, which is, you know, as soon as Obama can figure out who this rascally government is that's screwing everything up, you know, he's going to try and fix it. You know, everything John Gizzi said about ISIS is correct, but the vacuum is the Obama vacuum. That's why the vacuum is there.
Yeah, and John, now we have John Kerry in Iraq, and now he's hinting at the fact that there's going to be new elections, and I just don't see, you know, these decades of sectarian violence and rivalry and everything that goes with them being solved because Barack Obama and John Kerry are telling Iraq to get their legislative house in order.
No, I don't. And as a student of history, Steve, it reminds me eerily almost of the twilight days of the regime of President Diem in South Vietnam in 1963. The Kennedy administration and our ambassador, Henry Cabot Lodge, were repeatedly telling President Diem to expand his government, make changes, talk to the opposition, and in the end, his regime ended in tragedy. And every government that followed was never as stable as the Diem regime. And if you listen to some of the things coming out of the White House toward Prime Minister Maliki at this point, it has a very haunting sound of Southeast Asia half a century ago.
Edmund?
Yeah, interesting history lesson there. I'll defer to John Gizzi on that. I was too young to live through that in Vietnam, but yes, history doesn't repeat itself, but it does rhyme. And as he said, that ended badly over there, and it looks like it's going to end very badly, in Iraq, and we're going to be paying the price for that for many years.
All right, let's talk about something else, and I'll ask you how you think it's going to end, and that's this whole IRS fiasco. There's a hearing tonight, prime time, and Darrell Issa gets to ask lots of questions, lots of important questions, hopefully, the right questions, hopefully. But let me ask you what you think, Edmund, the end game is going to be. I mean, when you know you have a Justice Department that will not appoint a special prosecutor, will not be indicting people like Lois Lerner or others. What do you see happening in the end?
I'm afraid nothing is going to happen in the end, just because I've watched Koskinen testify. I've watched Lerner, Stephen Miller. Steve, these bureaucrats are untouchable, and they know it, and they're arrogant, and they look at us with disdain because they know we can't touch them. And it's like, we're doing you a favor, Congress, by even showing up. Obviously, this is not only a huge scandal because of how far up it goes. This is actually just day in and day out life with the IRS for average citizens, for an agency that's totally out of control.
John, what can we expect tonight, do you think?
Well, we certainly won't expect or get any cooperation from the White House. I was at the briefing there just a little while ago, and in his debut officially as the press secretary and top spokesman for the president, Josh Earnest made it clear to those who cover him that after 15 hearings and providing over 750,000 pages of testimony, the administration had just about had it with what they are deeming a witch hunt and conspiracy theory. And I would say, based on what Josh said today, one can see an administration and its mouthpieces at the IRS standing a little firmer, because they know 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue is going to be their rock of support in this war with the other end of Pennsylvania Avenue. One last thing.
This is just, quickly, 30 seconds.
Steve Scalise, new number 3 man as House Republican whip, was spelling out a strategy for further probes into the IRS and how not to let this issue die on the day that Eric Cantor resigned and triggered the sequences that made Mr. Scalise whip.
All right, we're going to have more on the other side. Hey, folks, you want to contact us, email, Twitter, Facebook, on anything we're talking about, comment on it, weigh in on it. Here's how you do it.
3 a.m. and you're up again for the third time. It's not just affecting your sleep, it's interrupting your daily life. Frequent trips to the bathroom due to an aging prostate is a common concern, but you can now do something about it with Prostate Revive. Doctor-formulated Prostate Revive is an all-natural dietary supplement packed with 15 powerful ingredients, focused on improving prostate health by targeting the 2 main sources of prostate concerns, rogue testosterone and inflammation. And now, in this limited time offer, you can try Prostate Revive absolutely free. That's a free bottle, a 30-day supply of Prostate Revive, risk-free. Plus, if you call right now, you'll also receive our free report, A Doctor's Guide to a Healthy Prostate. Call now for details on getting your free bottle, plus our doctor's report. Call 1-800-659-REVIVE. That's 1-800-659-REVIVE. Don't be a victim of an aging prostate. Start getting the sleep you need and get your life back with Prostate Revive. Claim your risk-free bottle now at 1-800-659-REVIVE.
At 69, I'm starting a whole new chapter in my life.
Lifestyle Lift, a life-changing procedure that helps remove wrinkles, frown lines, and sagging skin on your face and neck.
I have a younger look and a new look on life.
Look, almost 200,000 lives changed. Lifestyle Lift is the affordable way to looking years younger.
Nothing's better than a lifestyle lift.
Don't miss your chance for your free skin firming treatment. Call now because this amazing offer ends soon.
Every time I see somebody, you look so good, you just never age. I go, oh, thank you for that. You know.
Would you feel good looking younger and more attractive?
I haven't felt this good in years.
My name is Cindy. I'm 56, but nobody needs to know.
Don't miss your chance for your free skin firming treatment. Call now because this amazing offer ends soon.
Call now, 800-599-0771.
Don't regret looking older than you feel.
If you want an adjustable bed, shop by phone and save on a new Craftmatic, the best-selling adjustable brand ever. Call for prices and free information. There's no obligation. Our everyday low prices are guaranteed. Compare us to the leading memory foam brand and save hundreds, even $1,000 or more. Discover our 30-day in-home trial. We won't be undersold. There's no hassle, no pressure, no pain. No salesman will come to your home. Convenient delivery, installation, and in-home service in the continental U.S. Watch TV, read, eat, rest, and relax at the touch of a button. Enjoy personal heat and soothing massage at a price you can afford. So why consider anything else? Discover Craftmatic for less, up to 50% less. Call for prices and free information and save hundreds, even $1,000 or more on luxurious memory foam. There's no obligation. Call now.
Call 1-800-686-3106. That's 1-800-686-3106. Call 1-800-686-3106. Call now.
Welcome back. I'm Francesca Page, and here's your Newsmax Now update. 3 journalists from Al Jazeera were convicted by an Egyptian court today. The journalists were accused of supporting the Muslim Brotherhood and face a 7-year sentence in a maximum security prison. The journalists have been detained since December when they were found covering protests supporting ousted President Mohamed Morsi. Al Jazeera officials deny the allegations. And elections in Afghanistan continue facing challenges. The country's chief electoral officer resigned today amidst allegations of a massive voter fraud in the runoff presidential election. The official denies involvement in the fraud and says he's stepping down for the interest of his people. Both leading presidential candidates report ballot box stuffing. Millions of Afghans turned out to vote despite violent threats from the Taliban. That's your Newsmax Now update. Back to the Steve Malzberg Show.
Fire away.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studio in New York City. A fusion of politics, commentary, entertainment, and sports. Steve and his team bring you the latest news and opinion now. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks, welcome back. And part 2 of the Malzberg panel. Rejoining us, columnist for Breitbart.com and an American thinker, C. Edmund Wright, and Newsmax White House correspondent John Gizzi. All right, gentlemen, Hillary did it again, and I really don't understand how this is even possible. But she, alluded to the fact that, the really rich people, and now people are talking about how, well, she's getting $200,000 a speech, how many millions of Bill Clinton has. I mean, I don't get it. What is wrong with her? How is she performing so poorly? John? Is John with us? All right. How about Edmund? Hello, Edmund.
Hey, how you doing, Steve?
John is John is speechless. Yes.
I think that this brings into question, is this really the smartest woman in the world or not? I've never thought so. Maybe after the last 3 weeks, a few more people are questioning that assumption. I also think it talks to the isolation of the political class, and clearly the Clintons are part of that. Clearly she thought what she was saying today was actually going to resonate and make sense, with dividend income and interest income versus ordinary income. But Steve, I think that we would all agree that $200,000 for a speech is not really ordinary income as most of us define it.
When George H.W. Bush said something about, swiping a gallon of milk or whatever, that was huge. MSNBC allegedly edited tape to make Mitt Romney look out of touch with this, what was the name of the, in Pennsylvania, this food place, which there's a couple in New Jersey. I don't remember which one it was. And they edited it to where he talked about, he went, what is it? Do you remember the one, Edmund? Anyway, he went, Wawa.
I remember the story. Yeah.
It was Wawa. And he went there, and they edited the tape allegedly to show that I went there, and then, wow, you push a button, and wow, your sandwich comes out. That's not what he said, but they'll do anything to portray, those on the right as out of touch and elitist and whatever. But twice now, Hillary referring to woe is me when it comes to money. I just don't see how she could do that.
Well, if I had to guess, I think they felt like they won the last election on two things. One was the war on women, but number two was on the fact that Mitt Romney's a rich, mean guy, and he doesn't care about folks like me. And I guess they thought that was so important in 2012 that they had to just throw common sense and reality to the wind so that Hillary could be, every man, so to speak.
Yeah. All right. Listen, Edmund, I appreciate it. That's C. Edmund Wright. Of course, you read him at Breitbart.com, an American thinker. And we also thank John Gizzi for the previous segment, White House correspondent for Newsmax. And we do appreciate both of them coming on. Yeah, it's kind of bizarre. It's kind of bizarre. And the book hasn't sold well, and the tour hasn't gone well. And some of the statements are going to be out there for the Republican candidate to use against her if she's the nominee. So I don't know. I think the book tour has been a good thing for Republicans. We'll be back with more of the Steve Malzberg Show. But first, today's American Moment takes a look back at the miracle on ice.
History calls it a miracle. The 1980 13th Winter Olympic Games were in full force in Lake Placid, New York. Months earlier, the Soviet troops had invaded Afghanistan, and President Jimmy Carter was threatening to boycott the Summer Olympic Games scheduled to be played in Moscow. But all U.S. Olympic hockey team coach Herb Brooks was thinking about was winning games. His team was the youngest hockey team to ever compete in the Olympics. In spite of their age and inexperience, only two teams stood between them and Olympic gold. The first was the mighty Soviets, whose team consisted of seasoned world-class players who just a year earlier had soundly defeated the National Hockey League's all-star team. The last time the Soviets had played these Americans in an exhibition game, the Soviets dominated 10-3. Sports commentators openly remarked that the only thing that could keep the Soviets from winning the gold would be if the ice melted. But the Americans, led by their captain Mike Eruzione, had other ideas. As the game got underway, the Soviets quickly scored, and by the end of the second period, led 3-2. A little after 8 minutes into the third period, Mark Johnson's goal tied the game. And then with just 10 minutes left to play, Mike Eruzione fired a shot past his defender to give the Americans the lead. The last seconds of the game tell it all.
There, the puck is still loose. 11 seconds. You've got 10 seconds. The countdown going on right now. Morrow up to Silk. 5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable.
For Newsmax TV, I'm Bill Curtis, and this.
Attention! Do you have a motorized wheelchair or scooter that's broken? Now there's a Medicare and private insurance benefit that may fix your broken wheelchair. You need to call the experts at the Precision Repair Network. We're the specialists in repairing all makes and models of motorized wheelchairs and scooters. Call us 24/7. We'll come to you anywhere in the United States. We'll even give you a loaner to use if necessary. So call right now.
Wayne Allen Root here, former presidential candidate, conservative media personality, and best-selling author, with a shot of economic reality to kick off 2014. First, things are not as bad as they seem. They're worse. Our nation is sinking in debt, spending, taxes, and entitlements. There are no new jobs, and your health insurance is going dramatically higher. Forget stocks, bonds, and savings balances. They'll soon be gutted as the world finally ditches the dollar and turns to more stable currencies like gold. What other currency or asset has risen 300% in the last decade? Gold is like no other money on earth. Call my trusted friends at Swiss America for the full story about the coming gold rush. Gold is wealth insurance against a world full of political deception, ignorance, crisis, and economic disaster. Act now. Ask for my new DVD, The Timeless Truth About Money. It's 100% free.
Attention active duty National Guard, Reserve, and retired veterans. If your loved one was injured while serving our country anytime after October 2001, you may qualify for up to $100,000 in tax-free cash TSGLI benefits, even if the injury was not related to military service. Also, if you have been denied VA disability benefits for a service-related issue, we may be able to help. To find out if you have a claim, call the number on your screen. Operators are standing by to assist you. Don't wait. Call the number on your screen now.
My name is J.D. Hayworth, and I'm employed as anchor analyst at Newsmax TV. As a free people, as Americans, there can be a unity of purpose, but it's not always unanimous. I believe what we have a chance to offer is a key choice. If you want a perspective, independent, American, original, free, it'll be here at Newsmax TV.
Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studio in New York City, here is Steve Malzberg.
Your letter describes the Lois Lerner emails as being unrecoverable. Correct. But fails to mention where the damaged hard drive is today. Do you know where the actual hard drive is that crashed in 2011?
I'm advised the actual hard drive, after it was determined that it was dysfunctional and that with experts no emails could be retrieved, was recycled and destroyed in the normal process. This was.
So was it physically destroyed?
That's my understanding.
So was it melted down? Do you know?
I have no idea what the recycler does with it. This was 3 years ago.
All right, folks, welcome back. Of course, that was from Friday, not 3 years ago. And joining us now is Patrick Howley, a reporter for the Daily Caller. Hey, Patrick.
Hey, Steve. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm all right. You've done some great reporting for the Daily Caller. Your stories about the whole IRS scandal, which is much more than we could say for the networks, who basically, for the most part, until Friday night, had ignored this whole thing. You know, I mean, on so many levels, this is just beyond my comprehension how they could be claiming this and how they could be getting away with this. I mean, you've pointed out in a piece that the IRS is required by law to keep printout emails for their records, correct?
Right. I mean, they're pretending that they're computer illiterate, which is, you know, a common excuse that they fall back on. But, you know, the Federal Records Act actually requires them to print out every email that gets used in agency business and to file the printed copy in a manila folder somewhere and to keep it in the office. So regardless of the whole issue about the hard drive, we already know that they're in violation of federal law because they weren't keeping hard copies of these things.
Have they been, to your knowledge, have they been asked this? Did any of the congressmen ask if they've been keeping the hard copies? Or you remember one of the answers from the, I think to Ryan, from the commissioner, he said, you're telling us this now, or you told us 3 days ago? And he said, that's because you just asked us 3 days ago. But he had known this for months. So my question is, you know, to your best of your knowledge, has this been asked? Because maybe they do have the hard copies, but no one's asked for them, so they're just not handing them over.
Right. It hasn't been asked yet, but I know that Darrell Issa is very knowledgeable about the Federal Records Act, and I imagine that it will come up tonight at the hearing at 7.
Yeah, primetime hearing. That's going to be very interesting. So it's possible, if it hasn't been asked, based on previous answers by this commissioner, that he might answer and say, yeah, we have them, and they'll say, well, why didn't you hand them over? And he said, well, you didn't ask me for them yet. I mean, is that possible?
Well, I think if they go to all this effort to scrub Lois Lerner's hard drive and to fire the email archiving company that they were using, that they're not going to hand over, you know, printed out copies. I can't imagine that that's a scenario that we're going to see tonight.
So I wonder what the answer is going to be. What do you think they're going to dog eat them? I mean, what?
I know it's really ridiculous at this point. And Paul Ryan's outburst, his righteous outburst on Friday, was really the sentiment that we're seeing, not just from the right, but from everybody, especially people who have worked in government before, who have worked in bureaucracy, and they just realize that this is completely out of control at this point.
Yeah, I want you to hear, and we didn't play too many of these. This is Congressman, I want to get the name right there, Earl Blumenauer from Oregon, Democrat, who was very sympathetic, as a lot of Democrats were, to the IRS commissioner. He tried to turn it around and blame Republicans for attacking the IRS with budget cuts, the government shutdown. Here's some of what he had to say.
What did we do in the government shutdown? What business furloughs its accounts receivable department? Not one that stays in business very long. Not one that has the capacity to deal with layers and layers of complexity and a vast system where people pound away on the IRS and the people who work there. I'm amazed that anybody takes those jobs. From you on down. And I appreciate they do.
He blamed it all on the government shutdown, on the Republicans for cutting the IRS budget. He had no problem, apparently, with the hard drive being thrown away.
The IRS, they're just wonderful people. I mean, we've heard that from the Washington Post and the New York Times and the major networks for the past year. I mean, this has been great PR for them. They're underpaid, they're underfunded. Lois Lerner only lives on a $3 million property in Bethesda, Maryland. You know, she can't afford a $4 million property, so it's rough out there for an IRS agent.
All right, now I want you to hear Hillary, who was asked by Greta on her Fox News interview to comment on the IRS scandal and specifically what Obama had said to Bill O'Reilly, that there's not a smidgen of impropriety here, and it's just three knuckleheads in Cincinnati or whatever. And here's how that answer came out.
Well, I think that anytime the IRS is involved, for many people, it's a real scandal, and I think, though, that there are some challenges that rightly need to be made to what is being said, and I assume that the inquiry will continue. So I don't have the details, but I think what President Obama means there is there really wasn't a lot of evidence that this was deliberate, but that's why the investigation needs to continue.
So here she is, and let's talk about the political aspects of this for a second. I mean, here she is separating herself from what Obama said, actually saying anytime the IRS is involved, it's a scandal, and that's why we have investigations. And she's apparently, unlike what she said about the Benghazi investigation and the select committee to Diane Sawyer, this one she seems to have little problem with, probably because she's not involved, but nonetheless, she's supporting the investigation.
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised to hear that, but, you look at Hillary and you look at Bill Clinton, and obviously this Ed Klein book just came out talking about how much they hate each other, but, with Obama at 44% in the polls, which is still 20 points higher, I think, at this point than he should be, but that number is going down as the VA, the IRS, all these things, Bo Bergdahl are just adding up, and I think you see the Clintons making more of a concerted effort to distance themselves from Obama, because in this case, what is Hillary Clinton going to run on in 2016 if they ask her about, hey, remember when you defended the idea that 7 different IRS computers crashed and lost all these records in violation of federal law? I mean, she doesn't want that on her record going into the campaign because she doesn't need it. She wasn't involved with the IRS. So she's taking the sensible view here.
Now, you had mentioned in passing, but you wrote a piece on this, and that was the first I had heard of this, that the IRS fired this email archiving firm after the Lois Lerner crash. Explain what they did for the IRS and how and when they were fired exactly.
There's a company in San Jose, California called Sonasoft Corporation, which is the leading email archiving company in the country. They do email backup servers, so if a computer crashes, they retrieve all of your emails within 10 minutes, they claim in their commercial. They do this service for the New York Times, so it only would have taken a New York Times reporter one phone call to their own contractor to figure out what was going on. But they had a contract in place with the IRS beginning in 2005. They renewed it every year for 6 years in a row. Finally, in 2011, just 10 days after Dave Camp, the congressman, writes his first letter to the IRS expressing concern about what he's been hearing about the targeting, that's when Lois Lerner's computer crashes. 2 months later, that's when the IRS closes out their contract after a 6-year relationship with this company out in California. So now they don't have an email backup contractor anymore. And then you start seeing all these other alleged computer crashes. Nicole Flax, who was an IRS official who was in and out of the White House as a frequent visitor during this time, her computer allegedly crashed just a couple months after they got rid of this contractor. So, we know that Lois Lerner's emails were being backed up at the time of her computer crash, but these 6 other officials mysteriously had computer crashes in or around the time when they got rid of this contractor.
Yeah, mysteriously is a good word. All right, so where do you think we go from here? I mean, we got the hearing tonight, and then what happens? I mean, there's no way that Eric Holder is going to appoint a special prosecutor. So
of course not.
So what happens? I mean, how does this? How do the right people get held responsible?
Yeah, I mean, Eric Holder is in contempt of Congress himself, still from the Fast and Furious scandal. This is going to be a very big hearing tonight, and we're going to Darrell Issa knows the law very well. He knows the Federal Records Act. He knows all the statutes. He has the ability to figure out which federal laws the IRS has violated, and he, I think, is gearing up to prosecute them criminally based on this computer crash. We know now, obviously, based on all of this evidence, that what is in these emails, that in these computer crashes, is the smoking gun. We know that. There's no way that these emails could come back and turn up anything other than something damning for the administration. So we have the smoking gun. We just don't have it in our possession. And it's up to Darrell Issa and it's up to Dave Camp of the House Ways and Means Committee to apply pressure and to use the law and to prosecute these people criminally if they're not going to give up these emails. And he can do that based on the Federal Records Act, which was passed into law in 1960, and that's a perfectly valid way for him to criminally prosecute IRS officials who scrubbed clean these hard drives.
Well, Patrick, I know you'll keep us all informed at the Daily Caller with your great reporting. I thank you so much for being with us, and take care, sir.
Always a pleasure, Steve. Thank you.
Thank you. My pleasure. Patrick Howley, ladies and gentlemen. When we come back, you know what you love it. It's Gimme 5 on the Steve Malzberg Show.
Can you really lose weight without changing your lifestyle? LaToya Q did. In fact, in just 5 months, she lost nearly 2 pounds a week without changing the way she dieted or exercised.
I lost 36 pounds and I went down 4 dress sizes.
Like so many people, LaToya didn't want to change her lifestyle to lose weight. Instead, she decided to take America's #1 selling diet pill, Lipozene.
People kept asking me, "Are you you have to be exercising? You're really you just don't want to tell us what you're doing." I was like, "No, I don't have time to go to a gym." I just took Lipozene and I started seeing results immediately.
Lipozene has now sold over 20 million bottles. That's because Lipozene really works. And to prove it, we conducted our very own double-blind clinical study where all we asked people to do was take Lipozene. And by just taking Lipozene, they lost weight. But here's where it gets really exciting. These people were not asked to change their diet or exercise. And 78% of the weight they lost was pure body fat. Not water, fat.
I'm almost back down to my high school weight, so I'm really loving that.
And for even faster results, you can try Lipozene with moderate diet and exercise.
Feels great to have a six-pack. I didn't think I would have it at my age.
I lost 7 inches off of my waist and I lost 2 dress sizes and I feel amazing.
Now you can join the millions of people who have lost weight with Lipozene by trying it risk-free for only $29.95. Lipozene is guaranteed to help you lose weight or your money back.
Lipozene, it works.
But wait. Call in the next 10 minutes and we'll double your order absolutely free. Plus, we'll even pay for your shipping. But that's still not all. To celebrate selling over 20 million bottles of Lipozene, the company will give you a free bottle of Metabo Up with your order. That's a $20 value free. But you must call right now because this exclusive free offer is not available in stores.
Call 1-800-509-9436. That's 1-800-509-9436.
Not even this floodlight is bright enough to light up a room. But now there's the new high-tech torchlight from Bell & Howell. Ordinary flashlights just have a narrow beam, but the torchlight has a brighter, wider beam that brilliantly lights up the entire room. Its 28 ultra-bright LEDs give you over 100,000 hours of bright, reliable light. And look, the torchlight is also a flashlight that clearly lets you see wherever you go. The powerful magnetic base securely attaches it to any metal surface, and it even rotates an incredible 180 degrees. It's like having an extra pair of hands. Use it at your computer, as a table lamp, or to light up those dark, unlit areas. It's weatherproof, and with the built-in hook, you can hang it anywhere. The Bell & Howell torchlight is yours for just $10. But wait, call now and we'll double your order. That's 2 for the price of 1. Just pay separate processing and handling. Order your torchlight now.
To order your torchlight and receive a second one free, have your credit card ready and call toll-free 1-800-715-4500.
In the small town of Elmira, New York, a boy was born into an all-American family. The odds of him opening his own clothing store at the age of 18? 1 in 138,000. Excited to be a part of pop culture, he packed for the big city. The odds of finding someone to invest in his vision? 1 in 4.5 million. The odds of him achieving his dream in the fashion industry? 1 in 23 million. The odds of having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 68. I am Tommy Hilfiger, and my family is affected by autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs. Early diagnosis can make a lifetime of difference.
All right, folks, welcome to Give Me 5. The name is Lance Corporal Brandon Garabrandt. You may have heard the story on Friday. A roadside bomb in Afghanistan killed 3 of our U.S. troops. He was a Marine, and he died, and he's from New Hampshire, and he was all of 19 years old. And what stands out about him, besides his character and everything else that goes along with being a Marine, and his untimely, tragic death, is that at his high school graduation, he wanted to wear his Marine uniform, and they would not let him. And this was a news story back in New Hampshire. I want you to watch this.
Student celebrating 2 major accomplishments at once, graduating high school and boot camp.
And he wants to wear his Marine Corps uniform during his high school commencement. But as our New Hampshire Bureau Chief Michael Rosenfield shows us, the school says no.
All right, that was a year ago. A year ago. The school would not let him wear his Marine uniform. And the irony here, the horrific irony here. Watch more.
Like most 18-year-olds, Brandon Garabrandt is about to graduate from high school. Unlike most, he's also taken his first steps to becoming a Marine.
Words can't even express it. This is such an amazing accomplishment.
Brandon's family is in South Carolina, ready to watch him graduate from boot camp. Then they'll fly back to New Hampshire for his graduation from Conval High School in Peterborough. Brandon would like to wear his Marine uniform rather than cap and gown, but the school won't allow it.
They won't allow it. They didn't want him to be singled out. They said it was a group day and no singling out. To see his happy mother there just a year ago, and to know how he met his tragic death just 3 days ago, and to know that his dream of wearing his uniform to his high school graduation was denied makes it all the more senseless. Not his death. His death wasn't senseless. He was serving his country. He was fighting for his country. But the uniform issue at the high school, senseless. More.
I think that is just a disgrace and very disrespectful. You know, it's important to acknowledge these children that make these decisions.
School officials say they've spoken with the student council and faculty members with military experience or who have family in the military. And the consensus is all students should dress alike and no one should be singled out.
All right. So there you got this, the side of the school. Here's more.
I think that that is just a disgrace and very disrespectful. You know, it's important to acknowledge these children that make these decisions.
School officials say they've spoken with the student council and faculty members with military experience or who have family in the military. And the consensus is all students should dress alike and no one should be singled out.
I think that this is a celebration of a class, much like a celebration of a team, a group that's been together.
School officials aren't budging. One concern they say they have is if they make an exception in this case, it'll open the door to other requests down the road.
You begin to wonder where to draw that line.
Why does that line have to be drawn? This does not open up a slippery slope. Nobody's going to, you don't allow a Boy Scout uniform or an Eagle Scout uniform or a Girl Scout uniform or a McDonald's uniform, okay? This is a military uniform. Where to draw the line does not enter into this, ladies and gentlemen. This is where you draw the line. If somebody is dedicating their life to the military, is volunteered to go defend their country and fight for their country and serve their country, that's where the line is drawn. Military service. And if this young man's dream was to wear his Marine uniform to his high school graduation, why is that not proper? Why does that open up a Pandora's box? Why does that make it impossible to know where to draw the line? That's where you draw the line. Military service. I don't see any other uniform that competes or that is in the same realm. May the corporal rest in peace.
I've got a small business, and everybody said you should be promoting it with Facebook.
Well, I use Facebook for myself, but I had no idea how to use it for my plumbing business.
Then I heard about web.com.
They told me they would build a professional Facebook page for my business free.
So I gave them a call.
And then they built me a Facebook page for free. I couldn't believe it.
If you call web.com now, you can have a new Facebook page built for your small business free. We even write posts for your Facebook page that will get people talking about you.
It's like I have this whole big social media department for my business.
Call now and web.com will build your new Facebook page free. Then we'll continue to bring you new fans, write posts for you, and report on results, all for one low monthly fee. If not, cancel and pay nothing.
Now people call me and say, I found you on Facebook. How cool is that?
You say it, we build it free.
Call 1-855-235-7998 today.
Attention, catheter patients on Medicare.
I use catheters, and if you do too, please listen carefully. There is a new catheter that hurts less, and you can get a free sample by calling this number now.
Pain and urinary tract infections have been avoided by many of my patients. These new disposable catheters hurt less. It's an incredible new design that reduces pain. The eyelets are polished, so they glide smoothly and effortlessly across your sensitive skin. The old catheters would scrape and cut, causing pain and infections.
These new catheters are totally different, so smooth and painless, they changed my life.
Call now and get a free sample. Medicare and your insurance will pay for up to 200 of these catheters per month, all at little or no cost to you.
Call now for your free sample. It will arrive with a complete 90-day order, and if it doesn't reduce your pain, we'll pick them up for free. Call 800-259-1759.
Welcome back. I'm Francesca Page, and here's your Newsmax Now update. Secretary of State John Kerry was in Baghdad earlier today to meet with Iraqi Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki. Kerry visited Iraq to urge Iraqi leaders to create a more inclusive government, which would welcome Sunni and Kurdish participation. However, he criticized the Sunni-led ISIS fighters who have seized additional cities in Iraq over the weekend. One of the areas seized by ISIS runs along Iraq's Syrian border.
ISIL is not fighting for a stronger Iraq. Quite the contrary. ISIL is fighting to divide Iraq and to destroy Iraq.
The Obama administration is sending up to 300 military advisors to help Iraqi security forces. In the meantime, President Obama is also considering targeted airstrikes. And now a leading Sunni tribal chief in Iraq is saying Kerry's idea of a central government is unlikely. Al-Suleiman says he wants a federalized government with rights for every tribe. The Sheikh calls the recent Sunni-led uprisings a revolution. Al-Suleiman's comments come as the U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry met with Iraqi leaders earlier today. Meanwhile, Syrian's foreign minister is saying the crisis in Iraq has the potential to destroy an entire Middle East while undermining security in Europe and the U.S. Syrian's informational minister is also confirming that ISIS fighters are in fact transporting weapons from Iraq to Syria. Syrian officials say they will confront the fight Al-Qaeda-inspired rebels. That's your Newsmax Now update. Now back to the Steve Malzberg Show.
All right, folks, hour number 2 of the big Steve Malzberg Show, and Congressman Marsha Blackburn will join us. She's the Vice Chair of the House Energy and Commerce Committee. We'll talk IRS and Obama's foreign policy with her. Alexander Brown, director at the Tripp Scott Law Firm. We'll talk to him about his expertise, which involves trademarks, patent law, and the Washington Redskins patent law suit that they'll be filing very soon, I'm sure. Michael Barone, senior political analyst for the Washington Examiner. His recent column, America's Electoral Unraveling. All that, give me 5, and much, much more on this hour of the Steve Malzberg Show.
Ready? Fire away. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studio in New York City. A fusion of politics, commentary, entertainment, and sports. Steve and his team bring you the latest news and opinion now. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks, we'll be joined momentarily, hopefully, by Marsha Blackburn. Until then, let me catch you up on a few things. First of all, Joe Biden may have inadvertently done more harm with the crisis involving the children coming from Central America. Let me tell you what he had to say today. He said, we're going to hold hearings with our judges consistent with international law, and we're going to send the vast majority back. The vast majority back. By the way, international law? International law? I don't care about international law. I mean, look what's taking place here. And these kids are being moved to the Northeast in many cases. Boston, Maine. And the plan is to send them back to reunite them with their parents in where? In the Central American countries? You think these parents who put their kids, I don't know, on a bus or in a desert or whatever and paid people to smuggle them into the U.S. or instructed them to walk over the border, they're going to now volunteer and say, oh, here I am, send Johnny back home to me. That's not going to happen. That's a pipe dream, and they know it's not going to happen. But let it be noted that Joe Biden said we will send the vast majority back. Actually, he said that a couple of days ago at a press conference in Guatemala. In Guatemala. He sent a loud and clear message that your kid has a chance of staying because we're sending the vast majority back, not all. Come on. It just keeps getting worse and worse, unfortunately. Now, 70% of Anbar province is now under ISIS control. This is a very disturbing occurrence and a very dangerous occurrence. And, of course, really the next big battle is going to be for Baghdad. And I don't know. John Kerry is in Iraq today, as we've told you. And he's telling the Iraqis to get their act together, politically speaking. The president has said that ISIS is so violent that he thinks they'll be rejected by the people. Again, I'm not sure how that works. If ISIS is on the march and ISIS is killing and taking over cities and executing people and murdering Christians, how exactly do the people reject them and make them go away? That's one part of the equation that I think the president left out during his plethora of interviews that he did during the course of the weekend. So that's not too encouraging either. And in addition to all that, we have this poll that's out, which I find very interesting. and this is a Gallup poll, and George W. Bush, and this has been a long time coming because Bush was down. Of course, after the 2008 election, Obama was here, Bush was here, and slowly, they've been getting closer and closer. They were just about even for several months, and now George W. Bush has a 6-point edge in favorability over Barack Obama. A 6-point edge in favorability over Barack Obama. And this poll shows that Bill Clinton has 64% favorability with 34% unfavorable. Next up is senior George H.W. Bush, 63%. The younger Bush had 53% favorable, 44 unfavorable. Jimmy Carter, 52 favorable, 32 unfavorable. Barack Obama had 47% favorable and 52% unfavorable. Where's Ronald Reagan in this? I'd like to know that, and I don't see it. But Obama was the only president that had a more unfavorable than favorable rating among the people who were asked about this. Very, very interesting. All right, I want you to hear something that Rand Paul had to say, talking about what we started off with here about immigration and the kids being brought into this country illegally. Listen to what Rand Paul had to say.
But here's the conundrum, and I think the conundrum has really been pointed out by the children being dumped on the border right now. There's a humanitarian disaster of 50,000 kids being dumped on this side of our border. It's because you have a beacon, forgiveness, and you don't have a secure border. So that's why conservatives who are for immigration reform, I am for immigration reform, but I insist that you secure the border first, because if you have a beacon of some kind of forgiveness without a secure border, the whole world will pathway to...
Okay, but that's the thing. Everybody says the same thing. Everybody. I heard Kevin McCarthy talk about immigration. He was being challenged on his record as a conservative by Chris Wallace on Fox News Sunday. And they all say the same thing. Republicans, for the most part, the leadership. And I haven't heard too many Republicans not say this. Secure the border first. No immigration reform, no other immigration votes until we secure the border. And usually they mean pass a law to secure the border, okay? Because, folks, there are laws on the books that already exist. Weren't we supposed to build a fence? And then the country that came together in World War II, the country that sent men to the moon and to space and everything we've done, we were somehow incapable of building a wall or a fence or whatever you want to call it, because it went this way and that way and this way and that way. And those were the excuses I heard over the years. Oh, you know, the terrain is so unfriendly towards building this fence that was required by law. And I believe, unless I'm wrong, is still required by law. So, the great American ingenuity, the great American, building machine who'll build highways from coast to coast, we just can't put this wall up because it would have to go zigzaggy, and we're just not good at that, you see. So that's the excuse that I've always heard. What do we have? And I haven't heard this talked about in years. 15% of the wall, 30% of the wall, fence, whatever you want to call it. I don't remember. But I'd like somebody to dredge that up and find out. I'd like to see the law about the wall or the fence and what percentage we've actually completed. Because I keep hearing all the Republican leaders and all the Republican possible presidential candidates talking about, security of the border first. All right, joining us now is Congressman Marshall Blackburn. Hello, Congressman.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Thank you for joining us. Time is of the essence, so let me get right to a bunch of things. You, of course, the Vice Chair of the House Energy and Commerce Committee. Tonight, the Oversight Committee is going to hold a hearing with the IRS Commissioner. Prime time, Darrell Issa will be able to fire away. After the disaster, in my view, of last Friday, and the arrogance, in my view, of last Friday from the Commissioner, and the revelations from last Friday, what do you hope for to be accomplished and explained, or asked at least, of the Commissioner tonight?
Well, one of the things I think is so smart of Chairman Issa to do is to hold this during prime time, because I think it probably will lead the ratings tonight. Secondly, I think it will be a great opportunity for the American people to see on display the arrogance of the bureaucracy, and I hope many of them will realize why we work so hard every day to rein this bureaucracy in, and to make certain that we reduce the size of the federal government. And it is so difficult. You know, every program up here has its own little fiefdom, and as Ronald Reagan taught us, there's nothing so close to eternal life on earth as a federal government program.
Are they going to get away with, though, Congressman, you know, hey, Lois Lerner trashed her hard drive, and 6 other people who were involved in this allegedly, their emails have also disappeared. Isn't there a law that says they have to keep hard copy paper records of these emails?
There are, and they've got copies of that. What they're trying to do is buy enough time that they think it will now begin to look like a political fight. But let me ask you this. What is going to happen if you've got 6 million Americans or 60 million Americans that say, oh, my computer ate all of my financial records. Oh, but I lost my income tax return.
We'll have to build more prison. That's what's going to happen. I mean, that's you know that. You know that.
Yeah.
But let me just ask you, Congressman.
Look at this. No, look at this. Because this doesn't, their arguments don't hold water, and the American people know that they don't. And they know that if the IRS cannot find those, cannot rebuild that certainly the NSA can.
Yeah, that's a very good point. So you say those emails exist?
I think they absolutely exist.
All right,
what they're trying to do is keep their friend Lewis out of jail.
Well, here's the next question then. With a Justice Department that you know will not appoint a special prosecutor and will not indict anybody, will anybody be held responsible legally?
I think you're going to see there continue to be a push to hold people responsible for this. We will end up getting to the bottom of this, and we will end up getting that information that is necessary, those emails that are necessary and a crucial part of this investigation. I have no doubt about that.
All right, let me switch. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. I was going to say I want to switch gears. We got like 2 minutes left, and I want to get to the foreign policy. Kerry's in Iraq. Obama has stated, and he gave a lot of interviews over the weekend, that it's got to be done with Iraq. They got to get their political act together. They got to end the sectarian violence and problems, which I mean, that's been going on forever. That's not going to happen. Yeah. And he also said that soon the people will find that ISIS is so violent they'll be rejected. What does that mean?
I don't think anybody knows what it means. Maybe it's more of that hopeful wishing and in theory, and if everybody did what we wanted them to do type mentality that this White House has. And they just think they can deem things to be. And
how dangerous is this? How dangerous is this to America?
It is incredibly dangerous, and this president has made this country much less safe than it was the day he took office.
And do you see, short of military intervention, do you see anything to stop ISIS from burdening Jordan now and blurring the border at Jordan the way they did with Syria?
Well, I think that everyone is concerned not only about what is happening in Iraq and Iran, but when you look at what is transpiring in Syria, if they push into Jordan, if they try to get up in that Israeli-Syrian border and make some problems up there, I think people are very, and rightfully so, very concerned about this.
Congressman, more time next time. Thank you so much. Good talking to you.
Good talking to you.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Congressman Marsha Blackburn, ladies and gentlemen. All right, folks, we're coming back, and we're going to talk about the Washington Redskins trademark. Don't go away.
Pat Boone here with a word about bank safety. Do you think your money is safe in the bank? Don't bank on it. A generation ago, bank accounts felt secure and they paid interest. This encouraged the virtue of thrift and saving. But today, bank accounts pay virtually nothing, and they've shifted from low risk to high risk. For example, Did you know your money deposited in most U.S. banks could be subject to limited withdrawal and even confiscation? Oh, yes. And that's just the first of 19 risks explained in a new white paper entitled Don't Bank on It. You still think your bank deposits are safe? You better get this vital new Don't Bank on It white paper now. Call the number on the screen or visit SwissAmerica.com, the gold standard. Learn how simple it is to become your own banker today.
Why are so many companies looking to hire ITT Tech grads?
Carter Brothers is a leading nationwide provider of electronic security. When we hire, we look for skilled professionals with technical know-how, like many of our ITT Tech grads.
B&T Group is a leading engineering and construction firm specializing in the wireless industry. When we need drafting technicians, ITT Tech sends us candidates who have the right set of skills and align with our core values.
Innovation Controls is a global provider of engine-driven equipment management and control solutions. We like the hands-on educational approach that ITT Tech students receive because we need people we can count on right from the start.
Make a choice that can make a difference. Call now to find out about the new Opportunity Scholarship from ITT Tech. Learn more now. Call 800-453-0319. That's 800-453-0319. 800-453-0319.
Now on Newsmax TV, Dr. Ben Carson calls Obamacare modern slavery and explains why America must rise up to stop it. See Dr. Carson on Newsmax TV's Midpoint. Go now to Newsmax TV. Politics, commentary, entertainment, sports, news and opinion now. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks, last week the ruling came down that the Washington Redskins name is disparaging to Native Americans. Who made that declaration? The declaration was made by the Trademark Trial and Appeal Board, known as TTAB, and therefore they say the trademark must be canceled. Now, I said at the time that this has to be unprecedented. You know, when did this ever happen before, and how could this be? And apparently there is one case way back. I couldn't even start to explain to you what the case was. But this, to me, is the hard fist of government coming down, overstepping, overreaching, much like the U.S. Supreme Court today ruled that the EPA has done in trying to regulate new plants, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But the fact of the matter is, what should happen here, if the Washington Redskins name is offensive, first of all, polls should show that, right? The two polls that I have seen and that I have cited on this program show that overwhelmingly, I don't mean 55-45, I mean 70s and 80s, overwhelmingly, Native Americans that have been polled say that this is not offensive to them, okay? It is not offensive to them. So that's number one. Number two, what should happen here is that the free market takes over. If this is so outrageous and so offensive, then A, the NFL commissioner, I don't know what the constitution of the NFL is. Remember the NBA constitution came into play with Donald Sterling and his remarks? Well, if this is so outrageous and racist and offensive, then the NFL, why is the NFL commissioner to this moment defending the name Redskins? Why does the owner of the team not want to change the name? Isn't he suffering financially? Oh, I'm sorry, he's not. You see, there's a waiting list for season tickets, years and years and years long. In other words, you got to hope somebody passes away that you know, or that you're left season tickets, because you ain't getting Washington Redskins season tickets any other way. And their paraphernalia, their uniforms, their jerseys, that all sells. That all sells. So nobody is suffering. And according to the polls, an overwhelming majority is not offended. So without a public outcry, a public reaction, a reaction from the people who are supposedly offended, in fact, the other way with them, what's this all about? What is this all about? And I'll tell you what it's all about. It's beyond political correctness. It's way beyond political correctness. It's an attempt at running your life, running someone's business, dictating to someone. I mean, if you want to start a business and name it, I'm not going to say it because then, of course, then I'll be, in trouble. But think of a derogatory name towards any race, any gender, any ethnicity, anything, sexual orientation, and you want to open a store and call it that? There could be protests outside your store. Nobody will buy in your store. No one will shop in your store. You'll go out of business. That's the way it should work if someone's foolish enough to take that direction in a business. But, folks, here's the hypocrisy. Snyder, the owner of the Redskins, is the bad guy now. He's the bad guy. How could he do this, legally or otherwise? How could he, how could he do this? They're after him legally. They're after him, morally, ethically. How could he do this? Well, excuse me. How many stories have you heard about Ted Turner, the great liberal icon Ted Turner, right? CNN founder, billionaire, owns the Atlanta Braves. As a matter of fact, one of my first most notable interviews while at Brooklyn College Radio was Ted Turner. Why did I call him up? Because the day before, he was kicked out of baseball for managing from the dugout. He was the owner. He was the owner. He took over as manager for a game. They kicked him out or suspended him. I called him, and the first thing he said to me over the phone, I was at Brooklyn College Radio, and he's down in Atlanta. He says, "Call me Ted, Steve." And I did. But my point is this racist? Now, this isn't me. This is me doing what they do in Atlanta at the ballpark. Ooh, 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 ooh. And what is that? That's a tomahawk chop. I've seen Ted Turner and the great, great American Jane Fonda stand up and do it with the rest of the crowd. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Now, that's not offensive? That's not problematic? No, because they're beyond reproach. They're beyond reproach. They're liberal. I see Chad's now doing it in the control room. He's doing it with his left hand. I think you got to do it with your right hand. I could be wrong. Maybe we should call Jane up and find out the proper way to do the tomahawk chop, which apparently isn't offensive, apparently isn't controversial. Neither is the name Braves. No, neither is their symbol, their emblem. None of that's offensive. No, only the Washington Redskins. That's offensive. Even though, again, polls of Native Americans show they're not offended. And this is consistent with the way the media and our government operate. Barack Obama will tell you, we have the public on our side, on this issue, on that issue, on every issue. Then the polls come out. Gitmo. There was a poll on closing Gitmo the other day. A majority of Americans are opposed to closing Gitmo. But if you listen to the news, if you listen to the networks, if you listen to Obama and the politicians, again, for the umpteenth time, they would have you think you're nuts. Something's wrong with you. Notice I did that righty and lefty, as opposed to the tomahawk chop. They'll have you think something's wrong with you if you want to keep Gitmo open, because it's un-American, it's not who we are, it's repulsive. No. Most Americans want it open. And unless you saw that poll, or listen to me give you the results, or you wouldn't know that. Because the media and this administration and the liberals in Washington, even though they're in the minority on issue after issue after issue, they present it as if the whole world thinks like them, specifically the whole country or most of the country. And if you have the other thought, there's something wrong with you. Remember, whether it's the Redskins or whatever, whether the Redskins or whether it's Gitmo or immigration, whatever. If you don't believe that the sky is green and the grass is blue, then there's something wrong with you. Always remember that, my friends. Always remember that. All right, folks, we're coming back. Don't go away. Steve Malzberg Show. You're going to hear from Benjamin Netanyahu. You're not going to want to miss this right here on Newsmax Television.
If you want
want to shed the fat and sculpt your body to get that slim, sexy look of your dreams, then you need to stop working out.
Say what?
And start rocking out with Rockin' Body, the fun new body makeover system that was created by fitness expert and Insanity creator Shaun T.
Rockin' Body combines dance and fitness in a fun new way so you can achieve insane weight loss.
I lost 30 pounds dancing.
Now you can tone and tighten your abs, shrink and shape your hips and thighs, and lift and firm your booty, all while you're just dancing.
I've lost 33 pounds. I feel sexy.
And now, for a limited time, the complete $80 Rockin' Body system is 75% off. That's right, Rockin' Body is only $19.95. We'll even upgrade you to express shipping free. Get the complete Rockin' Body system for only $19.95.
Call 1-800-718-8807 or order online at rockinbody.com. 1-800-718-8807. Call now.
Hi, I'm Mike Reagan. If you're a senior or baby boomer, you may be missing out on some important information. Tens of millions of boomers are set to retire, yet many don't know that how you file your Social Security can dramatically change the amount of money you collect. That's why Newsmax created a special report offering you the best strategies to maximize your Social Security benefits. For example, this report reveals a weird trick that could help you add up to $152,000 to your Social Security payouts. It also shows how some qualifying recipients can add up to $1,000 to their monthly payments. To get your copy with our free offer, along with 7 additional money-making booklets, simply go online. Newsmax says this report is a critical resource for anyone over the age of 50. So go to our website today and find out if you qualify to add extra money to your Social Security. Remember, it's your money. You deserve the most back in your retirement.
Hi, I'm Joan London, and if you're worried about your parent or a loved one living alone like I was, and you want reliable senior care information, then call A Place for Mom, the nation's largest senior living referral service. You'll get free information on assisted living, Alzheimer's care, nursing homes, even important financial information.
They had obviously researched every place, not just given me names. They found me a place for what she could afford, and it was magnificent.
We're now very confident that she's safe, and they just helped every step of the way, and I can't thank them enough.
So if you're struggling to find reliable senior living information, call A Place for Mom. This is a free service, and you can trust them to help you.
Call right now to get your free Senior Care Compass ebook. Find out about the 5 best-kept secrets on financing senior care and assisted living.
To find out more, call 800-263-4151. That's 800-263-4151.
Welcome back. I'm Francesca Page. Here's your Newsmax Now update. An Egyptian court has convicted 3 Al Jazeera journalists to 7 years in prison. Australian Peter Greste, Canadian-Egyptian Mohammed Fahmy, and Egyptian Beya Mohammed were convicted of terrorist-related charges, accusing them of supporting the Muslim Brotherhood. The 3 men who have been detained since December say they are being prosecuted simply for doing their jobs as journalists. The trial has been seen as a political fight between the government and the Al Jazeera network. And a man charged with killing 1 student and wounding 2 others at a Seattle university was denied bail on Monday. Aaron Ray Yaba pleaded not guilty and terminated first-degree murder and other charges. If convicted all charges, Yaba could face up to 86 years in prison. His attorney says she plans to pursue and instantly defend her client. That's your Newsmax Now update. Now back to the Steve Malzberg Show.
Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studio in New York City, here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks, welcome back. I want you to hear Benjamin Netanyahu talk about what's going on in Iraq. Of course, he's been critical of American foreign policy for quite some time as it relates to Iran. And of course, as it relates to Israel, although he's not as vocal about that, but we know what he has said behind the scenes and when he gets back home to his own country. And we know some of the things he said to Barack Obama while sitting across from him. Anyway, listen to this. Watch this.
What is, I think, being discussed in the case of Iran by the international community is that you remove most of the sanctions And Iran gets to keep most of the capabilities, most of the stockpiles, most of the ability to manufacture the means to make nuclear weapons. That's a terrible mistake. I hope it doesn't come to pass because I think this would change history. It would be a monumental mistake in the context of the world at large and the Middle East as it is today. This would be a tragic, tragic outcome.
And I'm particularly interested in the fact that, I mean, this was a broad interview, but that he's not losing sight of the fact that Iran still represents the greatest threat to Israel and probably to the West, notwithstanding what's going on with ISIS, notwithstanding ISIS is, you know, threatening now Jordan and saying they're going to march towards Israel. Israel can handle ISIS, okay? I mean, I don't know that they have the intestinal fortitude to do it and wipe them out. They certainly could. If it comes to keeping them from coming into Israel, I'm sure they certainly will. But Iran is another story. A nuclear Iran is a completely different story. Here's more from the Prime Minister.
I think you can't have it both ways. You can't talk about peace with Israel and be in a unity government with Hamas that kidnaps Israeli teenagers and calls for Israel's destruction. You can have one or the other, but not both. I hope President Abbas chooses the right thing.
And of course, he's talking about the Hamas joining a unity government with the Palestinian Authority, and the United States saying, hey, we'll still fund you. Hey, we'll still talk to you. And now, of course, that government has kidnapped 3 Israelis, 1 American girl included, and they have them. And Netanyahu is rightfully upset that the United States decided to announce early on that they will back a government with money as well that includes Hamas, which we consider, the U.S. considers to be a terrorist organization. Next.
You look at what's happening in the Middle East, and I think most Americans understand this. They see this enormous area riveted by religious hatred, by savagery of unimaginable proportions. Then you come to Israel and you see the one democracy that upholds basic human rights, that guards the rights of all minorities, that protects Christians. Christians are persecuted throughout the Middle East. So most Americans understand that Israel is a beacon of civilization and moderation. You know, I would suggest to this Presbyterian organizations to fly to the Middle East, come and see Israel for the embattled democracy that it is, and then take a bus tour. Go to Libya, go to Syria, go to Iraq, and see the difference. And I would give them 2 pieces of advice. One is, make sure it's an armor-plated bus, and second, don't say that you're Christians.
Talking about the Presbyterian divestment, which is outrageous. We'll be back with more of the Steve Malzberg Show, but first, here's Dr. Chauncey Crandall.
Heart disease is the biggest killer disease in America, and this doesn't surprise me. We are addicted to starches, sugars, fatty meats, and salt. People who live in countries with little heart disease eat very differently. One way some people stay heart healthy is by following what is known as the caveman or Stonehenge diet, so named because of its similarity to the way our prehistoric ancestors ate. People who follow this type of diet live off local fruits and root vegetables and get their protein mostly from fish and wild game they shoot themselves. Now, since most of us don't hunt or fish for all our protein, here are some simple tips on how you can start to eat like a caveman, modern day style. First, fill up on fruits and vegetables. Eat them first and you'll be less hungry. Feast on fish, which is rich in nutrients but not in calories. Choose fatty fish like mackerel, herring, sardines, and salmon, which are rich in heart-healthy omega-3 fatty acids. Get out and go for a walk. Remember, our ancestors were hunters and gatherers, so they didn't spend their time sitting in front of a TV or computer all day. If you live more like a caveman or a cave woman, your heart will love you for it. I'm Dr. Chauncey Crandall, and thank you for watching this Heart Health Minute. Remember, it's never too late to prevent or reverse heart disease. Right now, I invite you to discover your own risk for heart disease or even a heart attack by taking my quick, free online quiz at www.simple.
I've got a small business, and everybody said you should be promoting it with Facebook.
Well, I use Facebook for myself, but I had no idea how to use it for my plumbing business.
Then I heard about web.com.
They told me they would build a professional Facebook page for my business free.
So I gave them a call.
And then they built me a Facebook page for free. I couldn't believe it.
If you call web.com now, you can have a new Facebook page built for your small business free. We even write posts for your Facebook page that will get people talking about you.
It's like I have this whole big social media department for my business.
Call now and web.com will build your new Facebook page free. Then we'll continue to bring you new fans, write posts for you, and report on results, all for one low monthly fee. If not, cancel and pay nothing.
Now people call me and say, I found you on Facebook. How cool is that?
You say it, we build it free.
Call 1-855-235-7998 today.
Mom? Mom?
This mom was lucky that her daughter happened to stop by. Can your mom or dad reach a phone in such an emergency? The solution is Life Alert. Life Alert saves a life from a catastrophe every 11 minutes.
Linda, thank you for finding Life Alert for me. I feel much safer having it.
Whenever my mother needed help, Life Alert was there.
Because of Life Alert, my mother's life was saved.
Life Alert definitely saved my mother-in-law's life that day. There's no doubt about it.
We save a life from a catastrophe every 11 minutes. For a free Life Alert brochure, call 800-954-2339. That's 800-954-2339. Call 800-954-2339.
Almighty God, our sons, pride of our nation, this day have set upon a mighty endeavor, a struggle to preserve our republic. Some will never return. With thy blessing, we shall prevail over the unholy forces of our enemy. Thy will be done, Almighty God. Amen.
Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studio in New York City, here is Steve Malzberg.
Book is mostly about my 4 years as Secretary of State, but it's also personal because you go through these experiences kind of carrying everything you are and everything you believe in. So I've both made some hard choices and I've watched some hard choices being made. Obviously, the decision to go after bin Laden. I was just today at the new 9/11 museum, and I could feel a sense of just such emotion and gratitude that we have this incredible testimony to the people not only who died, but those who were so heroic in saving so many hundreds of people.
And she went on to say how, you know, it really made her think that we should all come together. Welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. Joining us now is Michael Barone, senior political analyst for the Washington Examiner. And Michael, always good to talk to you, sir.
Hey, it's good to be with you, Steve.
All right, great piece, America's Electoral Unraveling. And, you know, you point out in the piece, and we'll get to Hillary in a second because she's part of that piece, you know, that things for the most part have been fairly stable, politically speaking, over the past 20 years or so.
Well, that's right. We've had pretty spirited competition between the two parties. We've got voters voting more straight tickets, and yet at the same time, they've elected Democratic presidents in 4 of the last 6 elections, and they have elected House Republican majorities in 8 of the last 10 elections. So closely competitive. Not a lot of variation, not a lot of big swings. And the question is whether this will continue in 2016. Looks like it is in 2014.
Right, I was going to say, and you predict more of the same coming up in November with the Republicans expected to maintain or add in the House and win seats in the Senate. Whether or not they overtake it is still probably up for debate, correct?
That's right, and of course the Republicans are famous for making every 2 years a real attempt to avoid winning a majority in the Senate. And we'll see if their attempts are as successful this time as they were in 2010 and 2012.
All right, but looking ahead to 2016, you see a chance for a completely different scenario.
Well, I think there's, you know, you can extrapolate from current poll numbers and get to some different results. I mean, it's fascinating. The Pew Research Center had a poll the other day that showed that 65% of people said that they wanted to see new policies put in place rather than those of President Obama. That was an extraordinarily strong, unusually strong result for that kind of thought, and yet Hillary Clinton is leading the various possible Republican presidential nominees in just about every poll that's been taken nationally and in anything like swing states. So, there's something there that doesn't compute. Obviously, Hillary Clinton enters the race with probably, more experience in government and public policy than most of the Republicans have had. She's just issued this 600-page book, with...
Really? Wait, Hillary has a book?
Yeah, well, consumer warning, don't drop it on your toes, okay? But, it does make a good book door stopper if it doesn't do anything else. But it's interesting that she didn't write almost anything about her 8 years in the U.S. Senate. Curious. It's at the same time, we've got a bunch of Republicans, few of whom have had experience in foreign or military policy, beyond perhaps being a member of Congress for a period of time. But at the same time, none of them has a lead. They have differing views on issues. They're going all over the lot. And what I, have concluded is that, given the perceived policy failures perceived by majorities of voters in polls of the Obama administration domestic policy, which was apparent in the response in his first term and especially to Obamacare, and now in his second term, the perceived failures of his foreign policies, neither party has been very adept in addressing them. Hillary Clinton is kind of dancing around, supporting the president on some things, taking a different view on some other things, including some of the decisions made while she was in office, against her advice in at least one case, and kind of dancing on the other hand, whereas the Republicans are struggling to come up with policy alternatives that are not just a rehash of the 1980 Reagan campaign, but speak to the issues of the day.
Yeah, and you also talk about how some Senate Democrats have rejected Obama through his judicial nominees, for instance. Of course, we know people like Dianne Feinstein and others have been critical of him when it comes to what's going on in Iraq, and even with the deal for Sergeant Bergdahl and not notifying Congress. So that's kind of unusual as well.
Well, you've got some Democrats jumping ship, and that, happens to a party sometimes when its president's got negative job ratings. They've jumped ship on some nominations that have come before the Senate or before committees. And I think we would see a lot more of this, actually, if Harry Reid did not contrive as Senate Majority Leader simply to refrain from bringing up a great many issues to the Senate floor.
Yeah, well, I think it was Kevin McCarthy who said he could sit down and talk to anybody, including the president. He said this over the weekend, but not Harry Reid. He said Harry Reid, I think the number off the top of my head was over 400 bills that were passed by the House that Harry Reid will not bring to the floor. And I take issue. I think he's basically doing what the president wants him to do, no?
Well, he is, because a lot of those bills would pass the Senate. They would have Democratic support, and that would present the president with a high visibility dilemma of whether or not to veto a bill. In many cases, bills that would probably strike the voting public positively. So Reid wants to avoid putting his Democrats into that position of either forcing them to vote for unpopular legislation or vote against popular legislation, right, or jumping ship. So, yeah, there's a certain amount of disarray in the Democratic Party.
But you made a great point about the Pew poll, which I've referred to often, and sometimes I've mistakenly referred to it as a Gallup poll, where they said, I think 65% want different policies from the next president, and that is a strong rebuke of Obama, who goes around saying the people are on our side. It's only the evil Republicans in Congress who won't let us get things done. But Hillary has, as you mentioned also, tried to separate herself from the president on a few things. She was the first one to say those kids who are coming here have to go back. Obama echoed it a few days after, although I don't believe it, because he's now shipping them all over the country. Hillary changed her tune on Benghazi from all my questions have been answered to Diane Sawyer, and then by the time she got to Greta, there are lots of questions I want answered. And there was one other issue which is slipping my mind right now, but she's going to have a lot of separation to do. No, to satisfy the voters, if or is it? Or,
and I think she faces a certain amount of quandary in the Democratic primaries, even though, she starts in with support from a majority of voters, and other possible candidates don't have much. And the problem that she faces, on the one hand, it's clear that she would be better off in the general election running for the third Clinton term rather than the third Obama term. But it's also clear that the rising tide of sentiment in the Democratic Party is on the left. I mean, you're a resident of New York City, and you've got a mayor who decided to honeymoon in Castro's Cuba, chosen by Democratic primary
and
voters.
Support the Sandinistas.
A record low turnout in the general election.
Yep.
That lowest turnout since 1929. So there's, she's got a certain amount of whipsaw there. If she's going to, attack Obama from the right or differentiate herself, and at the same time try to propitiate a party that wants to move left, we've seen that could hurt the Democrats as it did in 2000 when Ralph Nader got 3% of the vote, rather than going to Al Gore.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me ask you about this Gallup poll. This one is a Gallup poll because it says it right here. Can't make that mistake. George W. Bush is rated 6 points higher right now than Barack Obama in favorability. And it came out Saturday. Bill Clinton has the highest favorability of all living and former current presidents with 64. Next up, George Bush Sr., 63. And the younger Bush had 53. And then Jimmy Carter. Long story short, Obama's the only one with a higher negative than positive, and he's 6 points lower than George W. Bush. What does that tell you?
Well, it tells me that President Obama's not in the best of shape that he's in an office, and that, his domestic, many were highly unpopular in his first term. The sluggish economy continues to evoke disapproval of his economic policies, but also foreign policy. Obama can argue that what the voters in polls said they wanted to do, but the voters in polls now say they don't like the results. They don't like what's happening out there. They feel the world is spinning in disarray, and problem for an incumbent president. The opinions on past presidents tend to get a little mellower over time. Those who regret the President Bush has had low job ratings at various points may now say, well, they've come to their senses. It's a process that works for both presidents of both, and to remember the good things and not the bad things. Whereas we are reminded on the news every day of some of the bad things that are happening during President Obama's tenure.
Michael Barone, senior political analyst for the Washington Examiner, Almanac of American Politics, 2014. We thank you as always, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Take care.
Thank you, sir.
Take care. Michael Barone, ladies and gentlemen, here on the Steve Malzberg Show. There's one of his books as well. That's on immigration and the demographics of it. We're coming back, folks, with away.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS? Are you struggling to make ends meet because you owe more in taxes than you can afford to pay?
The IRS is relentless and will collect from you. They can garnish your wages or place a levy on your You have rights, and you can stop them by calling the tax resolvers.
If you owe more than $10,000 in back taxes, our qualified CPAs, tax negotiators, and support staff know the law and know how to get your situation under control legally and permanently.
Call the number on your screen now, and we will contact the IRS on your behalf. UN wage garnishment, stop collection calls, remove tax liens, resolve tax penalties, and reduce the amount you owe if you qualify.
It's a free call and a free consultation, but we can only help if you pick up the phone and dial the number below.
You wouldn't fix your car without going to a mechanic, so why face the IRS without an experienced company that
owe more than $10,000 in back taxes? Call now and find out how we can help you resolve your IRS problems.
Call the tax resolvers at 800-489-3480.
These are real-life emergencies. They happen suddenly. You can be lost, alone, or in control. Control. You can have help at the push of a button.
This is Medical Alert. How may I help you?
Announcing Medical Alert, the personal alarm system. Medical Alert is there for you in minor emergencies too.
Medical Alert. How may I help you?
I'm not feeling well. I'm lightheaded.
Do you need an ambulance, Julie? Ambulance, Julie?
Please, no fuss. Can you call my neighbor Gladys for me?
Right away.
I know my children worry about me being alone, but I'm not really alone with my Medical Alert.
For your free consultation to see if Medical Alert is right for you. You'll get this keychain flashlight free just for calling, and be eligible to get this second emergency button and this locking key box free with your order.
For your complete medical alert system with the free keychain flashlight, call 1-800-531-67.
America, the Affordable Health Care Act is here, and it's got everyone asking, how do I find affordable health insurance that's right for me? The answer is simpler than you think. Pick up the phone and call I Can Benefit right now. Waiting for you is a team of licensed insurance agents who understand and can help you find the right plan to take care of you and your family's health, because nothing is more important. Have you been denied in the past? I have. Struggling to pay high premiums? Join the hundreds of thousands of callers just like you, and let us help you find a plan that works for you and your budget. But I'm not stopping there. Call now and receive your free ICANN prescription savings card. 5% on prescription medications at over 60,000 pharmacies nationwide. Don't wait. Call now and get the answers you deserve and a price you'll love.
Call toll free 1-800-426-2983. That's 1-800-426-2983. Call now.
Life can hit you with the unexpected. Forcing you to make difficult decisions. Leaving you feeling helpless. You don't have to lose your home. It's time to take control. The National Foundation for Credit Counseling can help. The NFCC is a nonprofit organization that has been providing quality financial counseling and education for 60 years. Our national network of community-based member agencies have helped millions of consumers with foreclosure prevention. Seek advice from our certified housing counselors today. Call us at mortgagehelpnow.org. Real solutions for real people.
Their extreme ideology poses a medium and long-term threat. There are a lot of groups out there that probably have more advanced immediate plans directed against that we have to be on constant guard for. The thing about an organization like this is that typically when they control territory, because they're so violent, because they're so extreme, over time the local populations reject them.
Yeah, good luck with the local population rejecting ISIS. Welcome to Gimme 5. That's the president. He did a bunch of interviews with just about under the sun, and that was from Face the Nation. So ISIS presents a long and medium-term threat to the United States. But apparently we're counting on the local population to throw out this group or reject this group that's so violent. And I hate when how many times have you heard they're so violent, even Al-Qaeda rejected them? Really? Than incinerating 2,500, 2,800 people at the World Trade Center. How much, or beheading Daniel Pearl in cold blood? I mean, so Al-Qaeda's not so violent? That's the implication. Anyway, so what's the president going to do about this? Here's more.
We're going to have to be vigilant generally. Right now, with ISIS is the fact that they are destabilizing a country that could spill over into some of our allies like Jordan, and that they are engaged in wars in Syria, where in that vacuum that's been created, they could amass more arms, more resources. But I think to recognize that ISIS is just one of a number of organizations that we have to stay focused on.
Really? I thought the terror threat was eradicated. I thought Al-Qaeda was decimated. It was decimated. Mika Brzezinski asked him that, and he said, they were. They were. I guess they undecimated themselves, if that's a word. ISIS is eradicating the Jordanian border. They're eradicating the Syrian border. They're setting up a jihadist state. They say Israel next. And Obama's counting on the people to reject them because they're too extreme. That's a nice plan. More.
Al-Qaeda in Yemen is still very active, and we're staying focused on that. In North Africa, you're seeing organizations, including Boko Haram, that kidnapped all those young women. That is extreme and violent.
Boko Haram. I didn't know they were extreme and violent. That's how he identifies Boko Haram. They kidnapped all those young women. They slit the throats of many young boys, and they've raped and pillaged and murdered many people throughout the country in Nigeria, and Christians especially. But no, he identifies them as the ones who kidnapped those young girls. That's how Michelle Obama put forth Boko Haram to us too, if you recall. Their goal is to make sure girls don't get an education. No, it's way beyond that. We live in fantasy land where the people are going to reject ISIS and they'll go away. Why not call Boko Haram the group that just kidnaps young girls? More.
And this is going to be a global challenge, and one that the United States is going to have to address, but we're not going to be able to address it alone. And as I said yesterday, what we can't do is think that we're just going to play whack-a-mole and send U.S. troops occupying various countries wherever these organizations pop up. We're going to have a more focused, targeted strategy, and we're going to have to partner and train local law enforcement and military to do their jobs as well.
His new favorite expression, whack-a-mole. We're not going to. He said whack-a-mole the other day. He said whack-a-mole in almost every interview he did over the weekend. I mean, I get it. I guess I know what whack-a-mole is. To be honest with you, I never heard of whack-a-mole before. I don't know what whack-a-mole is. I grew up in Brooklyn. I played a lot of games, but whack-a-mole, I don't know. Maybe it's a military term, and I'm ignorant. What is it? Adam's like, it's a game. It's a boardwalk game. Whack-a-mole. I know nothing about whack-a-mole. But apparently that's the term du jour, term celeb for Barack Obama, explaining why we can't take care of ISIS, because we're not going to play whack-a-mole with terrorists. Okay, no, I don't want to play whack-a-mole. I think it's much better that we just wait for the people of Iraq to say, you're too violent, get out, and that'll work on the Steve Malzberg Show.
2014, half of your friends, family, and neighbors may lose their jobs, all while you're robbed of 90% of your life savings, investments, and home's value. Controversial economist Robert Wiedemer, who was the only expert to predict the recession, has released a startling video with shocking evidence that the powers that be have tried to ban. But that hasn't stopped 50 million people from getting the truth. Watch it at aftbook.com. That's aftbook.com.
Bald Milo or Milo with hair? What about this guy? Bald Torrance, or Torrance with hair? If you think that you'd look and feel better with hair, now you can do something about it. Introducing the world's first and only permanent solution to hair loss. You wash it, you cut it. It's your own real, naturally growing hair. When it comes to hair restoration, no one in the world has more experience than Bosley. The results look completely natural and are affordable on. To find out more about this clinically proven and permanent solution to hair loss, call now to receive your free no obligation information kit. It'll answer all of your questions about hair loss and hair restoration. Plus, we'll also send you this $250 gift certificate just for calling. Every day you wait, you're losing more hair. So what are you waiting for? Choose hair. Choose Bosley.
Call 1-800-647-5986. That's 1-800-647-5986.
Have life insurance, a final expense insurance plan pays cash to your family for final and all other expenses. If you're unable to purchase life insurance due to a pre-existing or current medical condition, call us right now for information and a free consultation. Rates will never increase, the policy cannot be canceled, and there are no restrictions on how your beneficiaries can use the money.
Call 1-800-364-1813. 1-800-364-1813.
Welcome back. I'm Francesca Page, and here's your now update. Extreme nationalists clashed with police officers outside of a Russian Orthodox church in Kiev. A group of masked men pushed and kicked police as they gathered outside of the monastery on Sunday. One nationalist said they were responding to reports of a separatist movement in Kiev. The dispute comes as Russia remembers the 73rd anniversary of Nazi invasion of the Soviet Union in 1941. Vladimir Putin showed his support for Ukraine's declaration of a ceasefire in its battle against pro-Russian separatists. Putin claims a compromise must guarantee the rights of Russian-speaking residents to feel an integral part of their own country. Putin's statement suggests he sees their future in Ukraine. And a court released a memo that provides an explanation for using drones to kill American citizens suspected of terrorism overseas. The memo said the killing of an Al-Qaeda leader who was born in the US had legal justification. The memo specifically referred to the September 2011 drone strike killing in Yemen of Anwar al-Awlaki, who is an Al-Qaeda leader born in the United States. That's your Newsmax Now update. Now back to the Steve Malzberg Show.
There you go, folks. Sorry about that. It's the final hour of the Monday edition of the Steve Malzberg Show. And the former rule of law coordinator for Iraq at the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad and partner at Patton Boggs Law Firm will be here as more towns continue to fall to the ISIS onslaught in Iraq. Talk about that. And then Leonardo Zagani, he's Newsmax Special Advisor on European Affairs. The Pope over the weekend said that all members of the mafia are excommunicated from the Catholic Church. Leonardo will be here to tell us why the Pope did that and why he thinks it's not a good idea. Philip Klein, senior writer at the Washington Examiner, a recent Wall Street Journal poll showed that Americans, well, let's put it this way, they don't have much confidence in Obama's leadership ability. And he says not only is it bad for Obama, that news, but it's worse for liberalism. So we'll talk about that. We also have You Give Me Five and more right here on this hour of the Steve Malzberg Show.
Ready? Fire away. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studio in New York City. A fusion of politics, commentary, entertainment, and sports. Steve and his team bring you the latest news and opinion now. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks, welcome back. And coming up, David Tafuri will be here in just a few moments. There's a report of an explosion at a medical school in Nigeria, which has killed 8 people, at least 8 people. Now, Boko Haram has not claimed responsibility for that just yet, but it is the 3rd bomb in the last 4 months in Nigeria's 2nd largest city of Kano, and it fits the MO of the places and the types of facilities that Boko Haram would go after and would blow up. Now, again, I understand that the Boko Haram situation has been presented to Americans by Michelle Obama and repeatedly by Barack Obama as that group that kidnaps girls and doesn't want them to get an education. But understand that Boko Haram, as we've documented for you on this show, blows people up, blows up facilities, slaughters Christians, rapes women, burns villages, and if you want to go with, what they do to boys in boarding school, they slit the throats of some 50 boys in a boarding school, then set the place on fire, and by the group that kidnapped those girls and doesn't want them to go to school. All right, before we go to David Tafuri, let's all take a look at this.
We're going to have to be vigilant generally. Right now, the problem with ISIS is the fact that they are destabilizing a country that could spill over into some of our allies like Jordan, and that they are engaged in wars in Syria, where in that vacuum that's been created, they could amass more arms, more resources. I think it's important for us to recognize that ISIS is just one of a number of organizations that we have to stay focused on.
All right, there you go. That's the president over the weekend. Joining us now is David Tafuri, former rule of law coordinator for Iraq at the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad and partner at Patton Boggs Law Firm. Hello, David.
Hi, thanks for having me on.
My pleasure. Thanks for coming on. Okay, you heard the president. Doesn't seem to be any real plan of action other than protecting our U.S. citizens who are there for diplomatic reasons and other reasons, which is fine with me. Maybe some military advisors are going to lay the groundwork and get the information to the people that need to have it to launch airstrikes. That could come. I don't know. But every day we're reporting more and more towns falling, more and more cities falling, the Al-Qaeda flag flying over these towns and cities, and the march toward Baghdad continues. Then we have the problem at the Jordanian border. They're threatening to go to Israel, and I just don't see anything that can stop them. I mean, not to go to Israel. They'll be stopped before they get to Israel by Israel. But I mean, as they march through Iraq.
That's correct. And it's been incredible how much territory they've gained so quickly. Remember, this started as a couple thousand guys in black tracksuits with AK-47, some other weapons. They came over from Syria. They were battle tested, but they're not well trained. They're basically thugs. They've been successful. The problem is the longer they hold territory, the more power they're going to get, the more they're going to get resources, the more they're going to be able to recruit more people. So this needs to be confronted very quickly. Otherwise, they are going to become stronger and threaten other countries.
Okay. I mean, as a layman looking at it from the outside, and you know, as you're in your former capacity, certainly know a lot more than me. But I think confronted quickly is kind of out the window because I think tomorrow is 2 weeks that we've known about this going on. Probably a little more than 2 weeks ago, the Iraqi government asked us for airstrikes while they were massing in columns and all centered in one place. This would be ISIS, and we didn't do it. What can be done at this point?
Well, a lot can still be done. I agree with you. This should have been acted upon earlier. Really, the issue should have been confronted before they got to Iraq. The U.S. should have been more engaged in Syria, helping the moderate Syrian opposition, which is battling against ISIS and ISIS-affiliated groups there. Had we helped them and supported them, probably this threat would not have occurred. Now we have them in Iraq. We have them gaining territory in Iraq, but it can still be done. Remember, it's still a small group of people, not well trained, a governmentless, countryless group that's not even well supported probably by the locals in the areas in Iraq where they are. And so the Iraqi army certainly needs to take the lead. Prime Minister Maliki needs to do a much better job as commander-in-chief of Iraq. But there's a lot the U.S. could do to help. And there are other resources as well. The Peshmerga Kurdish forces in the north certainly have the capability and power to confront, already are militarily engaged with ISIS. But if the U.S. were cooperating with both the Peshmerga forces and the Iraqi army forces and supporting both in a coordinated effort to clear Iraq of ISIS, they really should be able to be successful.
All right. I mean, talk about the threat to Jordan, and you know, and what it means, at least from a PR standpoint, if not from a practical standpoint, that these guys in ISIS are driving around in U.S. Humvees in Syria and probably brandishing a lot of the weapons that the Iraqi army abandoned when they ran.
That's correct. That's one of the reasons they've been able to gain power, gain weapons and equipment, transportation. Jordan is obviously a very important ally to the U.S. I think Jordan expects to have the cooperation of the U.S. in confronting ISIS, but Jordan also does have a strong military, a very strong intelligence service. They're probably prepared on, very much on their own to protect their own territory and protect their own border. But Jordan isn't going to be the answer to clearing ISIS out of Iraq. They won't really be involved in that. That's not really appropriate for them. So I'm not too worried about this spilling over into Jordan in the way that it has in Iraq. However, this is a problem for the whole region, and therefore there needs to be a comprehensive solution that needs to be put in place very quickly.
All right, let me ask you before what that might be. Let me ask you also, I heard today reports about great concern from Saudi Arabia. Now, Saudi Arabia, if I'm not mistaken, has funded this ISIS group with millions of dollars, but now they're getting a little nervous. Do they have reason to be?
Well, we have to distinguish between the Saudi Arabian government and private individuals in Saudi Arabia. I think the allegation is that there may be private individuals in Saudi Arabia who have funded ISIS or ISIS-related individuals and groups, and that may or may not be true. I don't think the Saudi Arabian government ever would have or did, fund or support ISIS. And the Saudi Arabian government is right to be worried. Saudi Arabia has its own, indigenous terrorist groups that are a threat to the government of Saudi Arabia, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So they're right to be worried. They can play a constructive role. Hopefully they will.
All right. So let me ask you again. You talk about taking care of it and a solution and all that. What would have to happen? I mean, I've heard Barack Obama say two things besides what I alluded to earlier with the possibility of since we have advisors there, maybe they're laying the groundwork for airstrikes, et cetera. But he also said, he keeps saying, and Kerry's there today saying that the sectarian conflict has to end. There has to be a new government, new elections, and Obama says that the people will reject ISIS because they're so extremely violent. Which, by the way, I get a kick out of all these people, not just the president, saying that ISIS is so violent that they were kicked out by Al Qaeda, as if Al Qaeda it didn't perpetrate 9/11 and isn't capable of anything. But that aside, so you got the president saying that the people will reject ISIS, whatever that means. I don't know how they reject them, and that basically it's a political solution that will solve this. So what's your take on that?
Well, I think President Obama and Secretary Kerry are right that there are larger problems in Iraq that have helped lead to this situation. The biggest problem really is that the Shiite-led government, led by the Prime Minister Maliki, has failed to do a good job of incorporating Sunni Arabs into the government and into the security forces and to give them a political voice. And therefore, they feel disenfranchised, left out of the government, left out of sharing in the resources. And that's one of the things that has laid the framework for this type of intervention by a Al-Qaeda, ISIS related group. And so they are correct that the bigger problems in Iraq need to be solved. And so there needs to be some tough medicine given to Prime Minister Maliki. I think that is what the President and Secretary Kerry are trying to do. And what needs to happen is that there needs to be a change in policy in Baghdad to do a much better job of involving the Sunnis and, frankly, compromising with the Kurds. That hasn't happened yet. But there's a separate problem, a more immediate problem, which is we have this group, ISIS, that's taken over territory, and that needs to be confronted right away. We can't wait for Prime Minister Maliki and the government to sort out its problems because those problems are significant and they're complex and they're going to take a while to get resolved.
One more. You mentioned Baghdad. How vulnerable is Baghdad to ISIS?
Well, certainly ISIS has its designs on Baghdad. It's interested in taking Baghdad. I think that's pretty unrealistic. Baghdad's a very large city. It's a mixed city. It has a lot of Shiites in it. The Iraqi army is still strong enough to protect the capital city, and certainly Iraq has also been recruiting new people to sort of Shiite-led militias, which in their own right will be, very strong and powerful. So my guess is that Baghdad is safe, although there may be fighting on the outskirts of Baghdad if ISIS truly does make a concerted effort to try to take Baghdad. But I think ISIS would lose that battle.
David, very informative. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
David Tafuri, ladies and gentlemen. And when we come back next, Newsmax Special Advisor on European Affairs, Leonardo Zagani, we'll talk about what the Pope did over the weekend. And if you haven't heard, you'll want to.
Funerals are a very difficult thing for a family to go through. Besides the sorrow, loved ones are left with the stress and the high cost of arranging a funeral. That's why Funeral Advantage was formed, to help protect your family from financial hardship. It pays your loved ones up to $20,000 cash immediately for a funeral and any other expenses.
It was easy. There were no long, complicated forms to fill out.
The average funeral can easily cost $9,000 or more, but the most government benefits will pay your family is only $255, leaving your loved ones to pay the balance.
What a relief knowing that my benefits will never be canceled and my rate is locked in for life.
If you're between 40 and 85, call the toll-free number today to get your free information guide. There's no risk or obligation, so call now.
Call 1-800-215-1400. Don't wait. Call now.
Is your mop a dirty, disgusting mess? You need the Hurricane 360 Spin Mop System, the only mop and bucket that spins the dirt away. A system that cleans practically anything and everything with super absorbent microfiber. Dip it in the washer side and the mess releases into the bucket. Then place it in the dryer side and push on the pedal. You get a clean mop pad that's practically dry and ready for more. And your hands will never again touch a dirty, disgusting mop. The heads are washable and reusable. Get the Hurricane 360 Spin Mop System for just 2 payments of $19.99. You'll also get a Sticky Buddy, the reusable sticky roller that picks up pet hair and lint and washes clean in seconds. You can take advantage of our 2-for-1 Pick It Up special and get a second spin mop set. Just pay additional shipping and fee. And we'll upgrade you to free priority handling. So don't wait. Order now.
Call 1-800-518-3953 to get your Hurricane Spin Mop double offer. So hurry and call now at 1-800-518-3953.
Now on Newsmax TV, Dr. Ben Carson calls Obamacare modern slavery and explains why America must rise up to stop it. See Dr. Carson on Newsmax TV's Midpoint. Go now to Newsmax TV. Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studio in New York City, here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks, welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. Pope Francis on Saturday went to the heart of Italy's biggest crime syndicate area, and he met with the father of a 3-year-old boy who was slain in the region's drug war. And he made a proclamation. He announced that from here on in, all members of the syndicate, the mafia, whatever you want to call them, are automatically excommunicated from the Catholic Church. And this has caused quite a stir. And here to sort it all out for us and give us his great perspective on it is Leonardo G. Zangani. He is a special advisor on European affairs for Newsmax. And Leonardo, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Great to see you. Okay, so what do you believe, first of all, prompted the Pope to do this? I mean, was it the emotion of the moment? Was it pre-planned and that's why he went there? What was it?
Well, he went there because over that area is a very heavy ndrangheta. When you're talking about mafia in Italy, you have to distinguish between 2 types of mafia. One is ndrangheta and one is the Sicilian mafia. In this particular case, he went down to Calabria, where the ndrangheta is very, very infiltrate in the territory, and it's part of the territory. That is why, in my personal opinion, he made a huge mistake in coming out so openly, because you are talking about connection that exists from years and years, if not century. Just keep in mind that if you want to be initiated in either Sicilian Mafia or Calabrese 'Ndrangheta, part of the ritual is that you have to swear using a image of saint. So that is telling you San Michele Arcangelo, in the case of 'Ndrangheta, is their protector. This society were born, and I am not here to defend them, I'm just analyzing from an historical point of view. This society were
well, you point out that the mafia was established to protect the weak. I mean,
exactly.
Right? When there was no controlling authority.
Yeah, exactly. That is what I'm going to. The mafia was intended at the beginnings when was this absence of justice and law to protect the weak, to protect the family, to protect. That is why the family is very important in the original mafia mentality. That is why, for example, Gotti killed Genovese here in New York, because it was all about drugs. The whole mafia do not allow drugs because drugs destroy the child, so destroy the family. This morale is very, very strong. And that is, something that they have to understand, because now that he's doing this condemnation, general condemnation, not individual, of 'Ndrangheta and mafia, who he will really get in trouble. First of all, they don't care about excommunication anymore in days today. It's like excommunicating the Masons. Go to see what the Shriners are doing in their hospital and tell me how you can excommunicate them, okay? But the other point is, you will have, unfortunately, some young priest or monk that will think to be the new JFK, go to help the world, and they will get themselves in trouble. They will get themselves in trouble because they will go against the system. Is the system accepted? It's been for century and century. Is legal? No, I'm not here to tell it's legal. I'm not telling it's a good thing, but it's something that is part of the tissue of the area. So just keep ignore, and don't go to open a door and create new problems in something that we know. Go after the pedophile that are much more evident in the society and are more damaging, because you are going to damage a very young child, and this damage for the rest of his life.
Absolutely, absolutely. So why do you think the Pope took this action? Does he not understand, the history that you've just so eloquently described, or?
Yeah, he don't understand. Keep in mind, he's coming from Argentina, number one.
That's what I was going to ask you.
Yeah. He's coming. Let me go there, because he's coming from Argentina and he's coming from a Piemontese family. Okay, they have ever had any influx in the history or contact with the mafia. The reason I know so much about that, because in one of my previous life I was a ship captain, and I know all this mentality, and all our crew was from the southern part of Italy, Calabria and Sicilia, and Puglia, where you have Santa Corona. I know their mentality. I know how they think. I was operation manager in New York Harbor. I was working with them every day. I respect them, they respect me. I was doing my own business. I don't go to interfere in their business. This is a mistake that he did. He go to interfere in a field that he should have ignored. Leave it alone, okay? We know exist. Let the police deal with them, but don't bring them up.
Okay, so one final question, Leonardo. What are the ramifications? You alluded to a young priest who is, they might have difficulty. What does this mean?
This means that you can have tomorrow one of these young priests that go to do a crusade in the little village, okay? Because that is what the Pope ordered him, and we get slain. So he will have on his conscience maybe some young guy killed by the 'Ndrangheta or by the mobster, okay, because they don't want people to interfere with them, just because he starts this crusade. Sometimes you have these young, can be religious or can be any young people that they don't think. They act before thinking, and they will get themselves in trouble. Simple like that. And he will have in his conscience that. I'm sorry to say that, because, but that is what probably I predict will happen.
Do Do you think, well, the Pope isn't going to reverse this in any time?
No, he will not reverse himself, and it's better he check his coffee before he drink that.
Now, do you think that this puts the Pope in danger?
Well, you know.
Obviously you do, but based on what you just said. I'm not laughing to make light of it, but I think it's very serious.
I'm not laughing either.
No, I know.
No, you know, put it this way. Remember what the mafia did to the Kennedy family, okay? The old man Kennedy crossed them, he had a contract, the contract was canceled. He asked for their help for the son to be elected president, he was elected president, the brother went after them. Did they go to kill the old man? No, because at that point he's old and he's not worth a bullet. They killed the two kids. They killed John and they killed Bob. And what happened? Joe, the old man, died of heart attack.
All right, so quickly, what do you think is the Pope in danger?
I will ask him to keep it back, watch his back.
All right, Leonardo, very sobering assessment, and I thank you very much, and we'll have you back soon. Leonardo G. Zangani, Special Advisor on European Affairs for Newsmax. When we come back, we're going to talk about the legalities of the Redskins name. Don't go away.
Imagine being able to clear your breakouts fast with a revolutionary new acne treatment that's actually good for your skin. Announcing all new Proactive Plus, the combination of acne medicine plus ultra perfecting skincare. Television star Kristen Ritter calls it a miracle.
I love the new Proactive Plus. It's fighting all my breakouts, and my skin is like porcelain.
The results are astonishing. Your skin is not only clear, but smooth and sexy. It's our smartest, fastest, most effective solution ever. And now, new skincare is in every step to balance acne-prone skin with needed hydration and more.
I have to tell you, this is different. Just look at my before and after pictures. That doesn't lie.
So grab your phone and dial the number on your screen now, because today, shipping is free. And get 3 free gifts, a $96 value for just $29.95. Call now.
You will love your skin.
Tired of mops that can't reach the dirt? Do you hate wringing out mops with your bare hands? Oh no! Is your mop a dirty, disgusting mess? Well, no more. It's time to meet the incredible Hurricane 360 Spin Mop System, the only mop and bucket that spins the dirt away. The mop head spins to pick up the most dirt, gets into corners and around toilet bowls. The super absorbent head picks up 10 times its weight in dirty, disgusting liquid, traps it inside, and doesn't drip. To clean it, just put it in the bucket, and like magic, it just spins the dirt away. And you will never touch dirty, disgusting mop water again. But the magic of the Spin Mop keeps on coming. The Hurricane 360 Spin Mop picks up dust and dirt at the same time. And it works on any hard surface and will never scratch or leave streaks. Its amazing bucket just can't be beat. Just dunk and spin. There's nothing else like it, guaranteed. No more touching dirty, disgusting mops, and no more getting on your hands and knees. Get the only mop that features spinning action and the revolutionary spinning bucket that cuts your cleaning time in half. Get the Hurricane 360 Spin Mop System for just 2 payments of $19.99. You'll also get a Sticky Buddy, the reusable sticky roller that picks up pet hair and lint and washes clean in seconds. You can take advantage of our limited time 2-for-1 pick it up special and get a second Spin Mop set. Just pay additional shipping and fee. You get it all. 2 spin mops, 2 mop heads, 2 revolutionary spinning buckets, and 2 Sticky Buddies for just 2 easy payments of $19.99. And we'll upgrade you to free priority handling. So don't wait. Order now.
Call 1-800-611-4362. That's 1-800-611-4362 to get your Hurricane Spin Mop double offer. So hurry and call now at 1-800-611-4362. That's 1-800-611-4362.
Welcome back. I'm Francesca Page, and here's your Newsmax Now update. A Sudanese court appealed the death sentence against a woman accused of converting to Christianity. The Sudanese Christian woman who gave birth at a prison after being sentenced to death was freed today. Sudan's penal code for conversion from Islam is death. Meribam Abrams' release came after her case sparked an outcry from Western governments when a judge sentenced her to death by hanging. The acting Secretary of Veterans Office, Sloan Gibson, says he's disappointed that complaints are not being taken seriously. Gibson says the VA has ignored allegations from government whistleblowers surrounding the lack of patient care. Gibson also says the intimidation of whistleblowers will not be tolerated. The U.S. Office of Special Counsel says it's reviewing more than 50 complaints alleging threats to patient health and safety. That's your Newsmax Now update. Now back to the Steve Malzberg Show.
Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studio in New York City, here is Steve Malzberg.
Turns out that there have been 13 months of multiple congressional investigations, including 14 congressional hearings, 30 interviews with IRS employees, 50 written congressional requests, and 750,000 pages of documents. And all of that has done nothing to substantiate false Republican claims of a broader political conspiracy.
All right, folks, there's Ernest, the new Jay Carney, poo-pooing the whole IRS scandal, if you will, and he also had this to say.
The fact of the matter is we've cooperated extensively, and despite that cooperation, we've seen continued allegations of Republican conspiracy theories that just never pan out.
Yeah, those Republican conspiracy theories. All right, that's what you want to call them. Now, the networks on Friday night finally took notice because of the heated exchanges with the IRS commissioner by some on the committee, including Paul Ryan. Watch.
Fireworks in Washington today as this ongoing scandal at the IRS took a bizarre turn. The head of the IRS told a congressional committee today that the agency has lost evidence in the investigation into how they handle conservative political groups. Specifically, emails from top IRS officials have allegedly gone missing. And given how long the IRS holds on to things like our tax returns, some members of Congress just aren't buying it.
Now to the outrage tonight involving the IRS, claiming to have lost thousands of crucial documents. Lawmakers asking, how can the taxman be let off the hook for losing documents while ordinary taxpayers would never get away with that?
Wow, I think I'm going to pass out. The networks covering the IRS scandal and the missing emails. Whoa! That might be a one-shot deal, folks. Don't get too excited. Here's more.
The IRS commissioner on the hot seat today, admitting his agency lost 2 years of emails from its biggest scandal in decades.
You asked taxpayers to hang on to 7 years of their personal tax information in case they're ever audited, and you can't keep 6 months worth of employee emails? This is being misleading again. I don't believe you.
That's the first time anybody has said that you do not believe me. I
don't believe you.
If an American taxpayer used the excuse that, my hard drive is lost, my receipts are gone, what would the IRS say?
If the American taxpayer said my hard drive's gone, but I can give you other information, the IRS would work with them.
Yet another black eye for the IRS.
All right, I got to tell you, at least they covered it. But did you hear the answer from Commissioner Koskinen? That if a person, a citizen said, I lost my information, I don't have it, the dog ate my homework, I threw away my hard drive, he said the IRS would work with them. And I spoke to one accountant that I know, not my accountant, but anyway, he doubted that. He just doubted that, and what does work with them mean? It's subjective, right? All right, folks, we'll be back with more of the Steve Malzberg Show. That's this. But first, we take a look back at the Apollo 11 moon landing with today's American Moment.
I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal before this decade is out of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the Earth.
In 1961, newly elected President John Fitzgerald Kennedy announced to the Congress and to all of mankind America's intention to send man to the moon. Previously restricted to the realm of science fiction, the president's commitment set in motion an unprecedented effort to fulfill one of man's oldest dreams. The obstacles were monumental, not the least of which was to create an energy source capable of sending a manned spacecraft to the moon. The answer stood 363 feet tall and delivered 8 million pounds of thrust, making the Saturn V the most powerful rocket ever built. On July 20th, 1969, Apollo 11, carrying astronauts Neil Armstrong, Michael Collins, and Edwin Buzz Aldrin, circled the moon until Armstrong and Aldrin entered the lunar module and readied themselves for their historic landing. With just 20 seconds of fuel left, disaster was narrowly averted when Armstrong had to manually fly the Eagle away from unexpected boulders to a smoother and less dangerous landing zone. Although the imagery was poor, Neil Armstrong's words came through loud and clear.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
However, the flight was not without controversy. Buzz Aldrin, a devout Christian, administered himself communion on the moon. Since NASA was already fighting a lawsuit from atheist Madalyn Murray O'Hair, who objected to the earlier Apollo 8 crew reading from the book of Genesis, Aldrin's communion was kept a secret from the public. Not so secret was the plaque bolted to the descent ladder on the lunar module. It was left on the moon to greet future visitors and reads, "We came in peace for all mankind." For Newsmax TV, I'm Bill Curtis, and this is an American Moment.
People ask me all the time, George, what do I do with my idea for a new product? I tell them, call my friends at InventHelp.
Call InventHelp today for free information. InventHelp has been providing patent referrals, preparing ideas, and submitting to companies for more than 30 years.
I believe every inventor deserves the opportunity to step into the ring and take their best shot. Put InventHelp in your corner.
For your free inventors information, call 1-800-520-7097.
Victims of mesothelioma and lung cancer caused by asbestos and their families may be entitled to receive a cash award from over $18 billion in asbestos trust funds now available. If you or a loved one was diagnosed with mesothelioma or lung cancer caused by asbestos, call the number on your screen now. Even if a loved one has passed due to mesothelioma or asbestos lung cancer, you may still be entitled to a cash award. Mesothelioma is a rare cancer caused by exposure to asbestos. Many victims were in the Navy, shipyards, or power plants, or worked in the construction, plumbing, insulation, or automotive trades. Many more were exposed in and around their homes. For nearly 30 years, we have successfully helped thousands of victims and families get the financial compensation they deserve. Time is limited. If you or a loved one has been diagnosed with mesothelioma or lung cancer caused by exposure to asbestos,
call 1-800-290-4243 now.
Attention active duty National Guard, Reserve, and retired veterans. If you or loved one was injured while serving our country anytime after October 2001, you may qualify for up to $100,000 in tax-free cash TSGLI benefits even if the injury was not related to military service. Also, if you have been denied VA disability benefits for a service-related issue, we may be able to help. To find out if you have a claim, call the number on your screen. Operators are standing by to assist you. Don't wait. Call the number on your screen now.
Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studio in New York City, here is Steve Malzberg.
I believe that the recruiting in Europe, there's no question in these three places, Spain, Germany, the number of passport fighters. We know there are at least 100 Americans that have gone to the arena to fight who have an American passport, who are going to try to get back. We know that they can go back to their European country, and if it's a visa waiver country, come right into the United States. So this is where I think we need to build our intelligence to see that we can disrupt a plot in this country before it happens, because there will be plots to kill Americans.
and what's going on in Iraq. Welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. Joining us now to discuss all of this and to discuss a recent Wall Street Journal NBC News poll, which is not only bad news, our guest says, for Obama, but also for liberalism. And we welcome in Philip Klein, senior writer at the Washington Examiner. Hey, Philip.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Always good to talk to you. Okay, so I mean, I played Dianne Feinstein just to show that, you know, here's a Democrat who's sounding the alarm a little more loudly and with more urgency than Obama over the weekend, who gave 100 interviews saying that they're a short-term and long-term threat. She was much more specific about what's going on. So talk about, first of all, talk about this poll. I mean, we discussed it a little bit on Friday. There were, you know, really bad numbers for Barack Obama on many levels, and some bad for Hillary Clinton as well, but you go beyond that.
Yeah, basically, the numbers were really had historically low approval ratings for President Obama, and that drew a lot of the attention. Also, there was another question talking about President Obama losing people not thinking that he has the capacity to lead anymore. And this is all significant, but I think that we need to look at why the poll was actually worse for liberal ideology than it was for Obama. And if you look at the sort of the scope and the sweep of what President Obama's presidency was supposed to be about, he didn't just want to be a president with a D next to his name. He wanted to be a transformational liberal leader. He wanted to be for liberalism, and he said this quite openly, what President Reagan was for conservatism. He talked about how Reagan changed the trajectory of America in a way that Bill Clinton didn't. And what you're seeing in these polling numbers is that when you ask people about whether or not they have confidence in government's ability to do things, it's very low. And asked about the VA scandal, for instance, it found that 14% blamed Obama, but 61% blamed government bureaucracy. Now, on the surface, people say, oh, well, that's good for Obama. He's not getting the blame for the VA. But it's a worse blow to liberalism, because liberals for a long time had pointed to the VA as an example of how government-run health care can actually outperform the private sector. Yet now people's default assumption is that there's just government bureaucracy and it's problematic. So what Obama has actually done is, instead of having a presidency that has proved that liberalism can work and government can work, which is what he set out to do if you listen to what he talked about in his first inaugural address and his campaigns, and what he was trying to push with the stimulus bill and the health care, what actually happened is the reverse is true. He's helped convince people that government can't work.
Right. Well, I hear that, and I see that in the poll numbers, and I buy that. But does it translate to the average person that it's liberalism that's failing here, or do they chalk it up somehow to and buy the spin of the failure of Congress to act enough, the do-nothing Congress, the partisanship, you know, and even confuse you know, liberals with Republicans and vice versa, and not know who to blame?
They may not put a label on it as liberalism or conservatism, although it is kind of telling that polls consistently show that fewer and fewer people want to label themselves as liberals, which is why liberals have tried to shift to the word progressive to refer to themselves. But I think that what the issue is just that President Obama came in and the whole goal of his presidency was he talked about removing people's cynicism. He talked in his inaugural address about the mistaken notion, you know, some question the ambition, the scope of our ambitions and so forth. He was supposed, you know, this was yes we can. They'll forget all the naysayers. But whether it's health care, the ambitions of the stimulus bill that turned into a flop, all these other scandals that have been attributed to the government bureaucracy, even if, let's say, a Hillary Clinton wins, she's going to be boxed in by the fact that people are going to be much more suspicious the next time a politician comes along and they're going to propose this big, bold plan.
Well, you know, let's take it to a Gallup poll that preceded the poll that you're talking about, and this was about a month or so ago, and maybe a little more, time flies, and the respondents said that by 65%, they want the next president to have different policies than Barack Obama. So, you know, that does speak to your point, whether they're calling it liberal or conservative, whatever. All they know is what Obama's for, they're not for. And it's on a plethora of issues, foreign, domestic, you name it. And so talk about that, and also talk about the position you mentioned, Hillary. You know, she's going to have to start picking a lot of things that she's against that Obama's for, and she's going to have to do it, I believe, sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I mean, ironically, one of the things I compare it to is that Bill Clinton his ambitions were reined in a sense that, to the extent that he was sort of operating within the box that Reagan had created. Reagan, whether or not his policies always lived up to his rhetoric, at least rhetorically made the case for smaller government and made people suspicious of sort of big government programs. And even Bill Clinton had to say the era of big government is over.
Yeah. No,
so he wasn't able to he did sort of small ball type things, but he had to do welfare reform. He couldn't do this sort of bold transformational liberal project. And so I think Hillary Clinton is going to face, if she were elected president, even if she got there, she's probably going to operate in a similar environment, except it'll be because of the failures of the Obama administration.
No, good point. And we've already heard her separate herself, saying that anytime the IRS is involved, it's a scandal, and that the investigation should continue. She did an about-face on Benghazi, by the way. Probably, you know, that's different than the IRS. Benghazi she's involved with, but she told originally Diane Sawyer that, you know, I know everything I need to know. There's no need for another investigation, but for whatever reasons, the people that are running it, you know, they want to. And then the other day, it was one of the interviews, Fox or the town hall, she took it back and she said there are a lot of unanswered questions that she wants to know. So she's beginning that on certain aspects where she is. And also she came out before Obama, even though I don't believe Obama, and I don't know if I believe her or not, but I know I don't believe Obama when he said that these kids are going to have to go back, that are coming across the border. She said it before he said it. And maybe he felt the need to say it after that, but I based on the fact that they took out an ad, as we now know, in January, looking for people to chaperone these kids, and that they're sending them all over the country, I don't see them leaving anytime soon. But interesting, she did come out before him, so that's three issues that she's kind of moved away from him on.
Yeah, and I think that I wouldn't be surprised if, as the campaign starts going, if she makes it, assuming she makes it to the general election, and Republicans are tying her to Obama, she'll probably start to remind people that she ran against Obama in 2008. And you'll probably start to see her make jokes with her sort of trademark chuckle, talking about how, oh, well, you know, I got bruised up fighting.
Does she have a trademark chuckle? I've never noticed that.
Yeah.
No, I made much of a career out of it on the radio, playing that over and over, back to back on a loop. But anyway, no, it's very, very interesting. And you know, she made that statement again to the British newspaper about people who are really well-to-do, and Biden kind of mocked that today. I forget where he was speaking, and he said, "I'm sorry, I don't own any stocks, I don't have any investments, but I do have a decent salary and pension." So I mean, I think he's going to run, and he's really trying to take shots at Hillary wherever he can.
Yeah, I mean, I actually have a story up on that now about this whole wealth controversy and over whether that's going to be a problem for her. But I think that I have no doubt that she'll find some way to answer those questions in the next 2 years. But I think the bigger issue that it speaks to is that she's an overrated politician. And I think because Bill Clinton was a successful politician, it created this perception.
Yeah, the aura of
Clinton infallibility. There are these master politicians, but she's not as smooth as he is.
She wasn't in 2008, and she certainly hasn't been on this book tour. That's for sure. We'll see how it all pans out. I'm sorry, we got about 10 seconds. Go ahead, Philip.
No, I was just saying, I mean, she beat Rick Lazio in New York. It's not like she's this master politician.
Right. That was it. And of course, remember him walking across the stage and handing her something to sign. Anyway, Philip, thank you very much. Senior writer, Washington Examiner. Always great to talk to you, sir. When we come back, give me 5. Don't go away.
Are you feeling tired, run down, low on energy? Well, you could be just like millions of Americans whose thyroid gland isn't functioning the way it's supposed to. Well, now there's hope to change all of that. Introducing Actilin. Actilin is a premium nutritional supplement designed to support optimal thyroid function. Actilin has 17 powerful ingredients that support adrenal health, thyroid function, energy, and your immune system. Actilin was formulated by the renowned holistic practitioner, Dr. David Brownstein. And now, for a limited time, you can get a free bottle of Actilin with our special offer. You pay only for shipping and handling. Act right now and get Dr. Brownstein's free special report, A Doctor's Guide to a Healthy Thyroid. Get Actilin and the special report. Sign up today at getactilin.com. That's getactilin.com. Or call us at the number below.
Can you really lose weight without changing your lifestyle? LaToya Q did. In fact, in just 5 months, she lost nearly 2 pounds a week without changing the way she dieted or exercised.
I lost 36 pounds and I went down 4 dress sizes.
Like so many people, LaToya didn't want to change her lifestyle to lose weight. Instead, she decided to take America's #1 selling diet pill, Lipozene.
People kept asking me, are you you have to be exercising. You're really you just don't want to tell us what you're doing. I was like, no, I don't have time to go to a gym. I just took Lipozene and I started seeing results immediately.
Lipozene has now sold over 20 million bottles. That's because Lipozene really works. And to prove it, we conducted our very own double-blind clinical study where all we asked people to do was take Lipozene. And by just taking Lipozene, they lost weight. But here's where it gets really exciting. These people were not asked to change their diet or exercise. And 78% of the weight they lost was pure body fat. Not water, fat.
I'm almost back down to my high school weight, so I'm really loving that.
And for even faster results, you can try Lipozene with moderate diet and exercise.
Feels great to have a six-pack. I didn't think I would have it at my age.
I lost 7 inches off of my waist and I lost 2 dress sizes and I feel amazing.
Now you can join the millions of people who have lost weight with Lipozene by trying it risk-free for only $29.95. Lipozene is guaranteed to help you lose weight or your money back.
Lipozene, it works.
But wait, call in the next 10 minutes and we'll double your order absolutely free. Plus, we'll even pay for your shipping. But that's still not all. To celebrate selling over 20 million bottles of Lipozene, the company will give you a free bottle of Metabo Up with your order. That's a $20 value free. But you must call right now because this exclusive free offer is not available in stores.
Call 1-800-509-9436. That's 1-800-509-9436.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your closet. Still no jobs, just more stuff? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed. And they're the stuff inside your stuff. Our job is to unlock those jobs. And it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover keytar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs.
I appreciate the fact that you are managing or attempting to 90,000 employees. You have a budget almost $11 billion. And I appreciate that you're doing this with a workforce since I've been in Congress that has shrunk 25,000 employees. 10,000, I think, in the last 4 years. But the budget if this Congress, in its wisdom, my Republican colleagues, are cutting your budget.
Congressman Earl Blumenauer, Democrat from Oregon, welcome to Give Me Five. This was Friday's session with the IRS commissioner, and this congressman is in total sympathy with the IRS commissioner. You run such a big agency, and we keep cutting your budget. How do you do it? You're great. More.
Some of this does sound condescending, I will say, or not allowing you to answer questions for a situation that Congress has made worse and has systematically assaulted the IRS in its capacity to function.
Congress has assaulted the IRS. Did they hold them hostage? Are they terrorists? Do they want ransom? I mean, that's usually, that was during the budget shutdown and the debt ceiling talks. It's all Congress's fault. And not all Congress, just the Republicans. Watch.
What did we do in the government shutdown? What business furloughs its accounts receivable department? Not one that stays in business very long. Not one that has the capacity to deal with layers and layers of complexity and a vast system where people pound away on the IRS and the people who work there. I'm amazed that anybody takes those jobs, from you on down, and I appreciate they do.
All right, so it was the government shutdown that led to Lois Lerner chucking her hard drive and the other employees missing their emails. It was the government shutdown, apparently, according to Congressman Blumenauer. All right, this is a rah-rah change. This is, I guess, when the Democrats did their cross-examination or had their turn to speak at the hearing, it was just, let's heap praise on the IRS. More.
You know, a certain irony that is now the dicta of the Republican Party to assault the IRS at every turn and undercut its ability to function. Gee, it was Republican presidents, starting with Lincoln and Taft and Roosevelt, that promoted the income tax, which doesn't collect itself.
Oh, we're getting a history lesson. I mean, please don't get me started. You want to go into why Lincoln favored the income tax and promoted the income tax and started the income tax? We could go into it and give you that history lesson another time. But what does this have to do with the IRS or Lois Lerner and all these employees having their emails made unavailable? I don't know. More.
I hope before we get through this budget process, we take a hard look at what this critical agency needs to function, like training, like people on the job, not have budget cuts that we are told by the tax advocate a budget cut of $1 costs the federal government $7, and undercutting enforcement.
All right, and on and on and on. One more for good measure.
Well, I think that anytime the IRS is involved, for many people, it's a real scandal. And I think, though, that there are some challenges that rightly need to be made to what is being said, and I assume that the inquiry will continue. So I don't have the details, but I think what President Obama means there is there really wasn't a lot of, evidence that this was deliberate, but that's why the investigation needs to continue.
So when I said one more for good measure, you thought it was another Blumenauer cut, right? No. Hillary with Greta said anytime the IRS is involved, it's a scandal. And she was talking about Obama's claim that there's nothing there. And she said that's what the investigation's for, which is more than Blumenauer and the Democrats on the committee were willing to admit.